Good morning and welcome to the New York City Council hearing of the Committee on Public Safety. At this time, can everybody please silence your cell phones? If you wish to testify, please go up to the Sergeant at Arms desk to fill out a testimony slip, even if you already registered online. At this time and going forward, no one is to approach the dais. I repeat, no one is to approach the dais. Thank you for your cooperation. Chair, we are ready to begin.
Good morning, everyone. In my remarks as a public servant, I've always said, may the peace, mercy, and blessings from the owner of all peace, mercy, and blessings be upon you. I'm Councilmember Yusef Salaam, Chair of the Committee on Public Safety. I am joined by Council Members Joseph, Caban, Osei, Areola, Holden, and Palladino, and by our public advocate, Jumaane Williams. Today we gather for a crucial oversight hearing to examine NYPD's investigative procedures and safeguards relating to wrongful convictions. I want to begin by thanking representatives from the NYPD for coming in this morning to provide testimony on this very crucial and critical issue. As some of you may imagine, this topic holds a particular weight to not only just myself, but also members of my community and many members of the community that we represent, and many members of the communities that are represented by our council members seated here. My story is one that has been shared in these chambers on a number of occasions. Today, we will hear about the unfortunate stories of individuals who have been run over by the spike wheels of justice, whose stories unfortunately never made it to these halls. As I know from lived experience, wrongful convictions cause irreparable damage to the individuals, their families, and their communities. These miscarriages of justice also can contribute to an erosion of the public trust in the criminal justice system. Research has shown that certain police practices and investigative techniques can significantly contribute to the occurrence of wrongful convictions. In recent years, there has been significant public attention and advocacy efforts surrounding the need to provide police practices, to provide improved police practices to minimize the risk of wrongful convictions. Communities, advocates, and legal experts have called for greater transparency, accountability, and adherence to evidence-based practices within law enforcement. Whether through the use of lineups or witness identification procedures that are prone to suspect misidentification, the use of coercive investigation tactics or inconsistencies in video recording of interrogations, there is a moral necessity for police departments to examine their internal practices and ensure steps are taken to mitigate the risk of wrongful convictions. Today's hearing provides us with a vital opportunity to engage with the NYPD on its efforts to prevent wrongful convictions and to promote the use of evidence-based investigative practices. We also hope to hear from the NYPD on their effort to improve collaboration and information sharing with the offices of our city, district attorneys, and public defenders. Most importantly, this hearing serves as a platform for directly impacted individuals, legal defenders, advocates, and other stakeholders to share insight on ongoing issues within the NYPD that can contribute to these wrongful convictions, and to propose recommendations for meaningful reform. I invite our friends from the NYPD to stick around as members of the public share their stories and real lived experiences that necessitates the implementation of these reforms with us this morning. Thank you again for your participation in this crucial and critical discussion. And I'd like to pass the microphone to our public advocate, Jumaane Williams.
Thank you so much. Good morning, peace and blessings, love and light to everyone. Mr. Chair, I just wanted to point out this is pretty momentous. I know you alluded to it in your statement, but to have you, Yusuf Salam, formerly of Central Park 5, now exonerated 5, to be chairing a hearing for the New York City Council of Public Safety on wrongful convictions is simply amazing. I just want to make sure I put that on the record. And as a person of faith to another person of faith, Allahu Akbar. More simply, God is great. And so just want to make sure I put that into the record. As mentioned, public advocate of the City of New York. My name is Jamani Williams. I want to thank Chair Salam, members of the Committee on Public Safety for holding this important hearing, and the members of NYPD for being here. In June of last year, District Attorney Alvin Bragg, who, by the way, is District Attorney of a county that is much safer than Maricopa County in Phoenix, Arizona, vacated 316 convictions involving discredited NYPD officers. These convictions occurred between 1996 and 2017, and of those 316, 57 of those convictions resulted in incarceration. This, of course, did not cover everyone wrongfully convicted in our city as a result of abusive, corrupt, or discriminatory policing. One of those people is in the room serving as the chair of this committee. I would also like to acknowledge Stephen Lopez, a sixth person wrongfully arrested and incarcerated for the 1989 attack on a jogger in Central Park, who was exonerated in 2022. There are many ways that police investigative procedures can result in wrongful convictions, including coercive interaction techniques that result in false confessions, lying on the stand in court, failing to return over exculpatory evidence, working with unreliable informants, and displaying outright prejudice. New York City and the United States, unfortunately, has a long history of police misconduct leading to wrongful convictions, the full scope of which we are only just beginning to see with the advent of DNA analysis leading to an increase in exonerations. Wrongful convictions harm entire communities. Incarceration tears people from their loved ones, traumatizing not only them, but their friends and families who may have depended on that person emotionally and financially, and not to mention leaving the person who is actually guilty still out. When a person is released from prison or jail, or even if they were not sentenced to any period of incarceration, their criminal record follows them and affects their ability to pursue employment, education, and can affect even where they can live. Wrongful convictions harm our city financially as well. For example, Luis N. Scarcella, a former NYPD detective who has been accused of framing dozens of people for murder, has cost taxpayers $110 million in settlements alone. Derek Hamilton, who spent more than 20 years in prison as a result of Scarcella's misconduct and persuaded prosecutors to throw out his conviction, was awarded $7 million by the city and has since become an activist working to free other innocent people. This is money that can be going to schools, housing, and other social services. This all underscores the need for police transparency and accountability. At the end of last year, this council passed Intro 586, part of the How Many Stops Act, which requires reporting on lower-level 1s and 2s investigative counters. And my hope is that Mayor Adams and NYPD will implement this law, and I'm looking forward to conversations about how we can best implement it. Further, all interrogations should be recorded in accordance with state law, and I believe we have to ask that CCRB be given some additional power in terms of disciplining officers who engage in abuse, corruption, discrimination, or misconduct. Regardless of whether police truly believe the suspect is guilty, these safeguards and standards must be followed in any investigation. But we have found that this allowing often the commissioner to be the sole person that makes a decision makes it more difficult for there to be accountability when it comes to discipline. We also must robustly invest in public defense. Legal services providers called on the administration for $195 million in increased funding for fiscal year 24. The city must fulfill their contracts on time or our entire legal system can suffer. And lastly, I ask Governor Hochul to sign the Wrongful Convictions Act into law. This legislation would provide individuals convicted of a crime with the opportunity for meaningful review to ensure redress for wrongful convictions, including in cases where the individual has pleaded guilty. Wrongfully convicted people who pleaded guilty often have no recourse for justice, and this law would create a path for them. Wrongful convictions are a scourge on our legal system, particularly for a community that already feels the burden of the overuse of incarceral resources. I remind you of the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Looking forward to discussion, and thank you.
Thank you, Public Advocate. I want to also recognize that we are joined by Council Members Marte and Stevens.
Thank you, everyone. We'll now turn to the administration for their testimony. From NYPD, we'll hear from Executive Director Neil Fenton, Chief of Detectives Joseph Kenny, Acting Director Josh Levin, and Executive Director Andrew Botello. I'm going to swear all three of you in, or all four of you in at once, so just raise your right hand, affirm the following. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before this committee, and to answer honestly to council member questions? You could say, I do. I recognize that you've all affirmed that, so go ahead. Thank you.
Sorry. Good morning, Chair Salam and members of the council. I am Joseph Kenny, the Chief of Detectives of the New York City Police Department. I am joined today by Neil Fenton, our Executive Director of the Department's Investigative Support and Training Unit, Andrew Botello, the Executive Director of Discovery Compliance Unit, Josh Levine, the Acting Director of the Department's Legislative Affairs Unit. On behalf of Police Commissioner Edward Caban, I would like to thank you for this opportunity to discuss the NYPD's commitment to ensure integrity of convictions and the practices and policies we have in place to prevent wrongful convictions. To be clear, every one wrongful conviction is too many. It is counter to everything that we stand for. When the wrong person is arrested and later convicted, it is a failure of the justice system. And the consequences for the wrongful person convicted, the horror, not only for them, but for their family and friends, is beyond words. The department's mission is to ensure public safety and achieve justice for victims while working tirelessly to make sure that the individuals being arrested, charged, and convicted of the crimes are in fact guilty of those crimes. For that reason, the NYPD works hand in hand with the conviction integrity units at prosecutors' offices at the state and federal level. We deliver evidence and files at their request and make the NYPD resources available to support their critical work for what they are doing. Their efforts have our full support. Consistent with those efforts, we have taken a variety of steps over the years to improve investigative procedures in order to prevent errors as we build our cases. Every day, we rely on witnesses and victims who come forward to tell us what they know. Without the accounts of witnesses, most of our investigations would go nowhere. But we recognize the human element and that witnesses make mistakes. That is why we have strict procedures regarding witness identifications to ensure that a witness's memory is not unduly influenced and even inadvertently by our investigators. Photo arrays are the primary way victims and witnesses identify or exclude suspects during our investigations. These photo arrays are conducted using a double-blind procedure. A detective provides a picture of the suspect, and a computer system generates 5 additional photographs that look like the suspect to include in the array. The array is then placed in a sealed envelope. Next, a second detective, who is not involved in the case, administers the array to the witnesses by allowing the witness to open the previously sealed envelope. This minimizes the risk that the detective will unintentionally influence a witness and identify the suspect, because the detective administering the array does not know which photo in the array belongs to that suspect. Language is also important. Our written protocols demand that only neutral language may be used and that the identification procedure itself be attempted to be audio recorded. And of course, the photo array must be provided during discovery so that it can be scrutinized by both the prosecutor and the defense attorney. As of today, Monday, February 26, 2024, traditional lineups, like the ones you often see in television and in movies, have played a smaller and smaller role in our investigations since the COVID-19 pandemic. But our policies and practices in those lineups are designed, again, to minimize the risk of influencing the witness. Detectives follow a strict, neutral script when administering the lineup to prevent bias, to maintain the consistency across all investigations. As a further safeguard, the suspect's attorney is present during the lineup and may make suggestions regarding the aspect of the lineup itself. The collection and use of video recordings also plays an important role in our efforts to prevent wrongful convictions. So many interactions, so many crimes are now caught on video. That may be video from a business, a bystander, the victim themselves, or by NYPD cameras. Investigators draw on video evidence, piecing together footage taken at different angles and at different moments. Tracing a criminal's moments before, during, and after a crime can provide crucial evidence in a case. It can also help us exclude suspects. There are times when a witness remembers an event a certain way, but the video evidence tells us otherwise. That is important for building good cases and preventing errors. Video evidence is important in another aspect. It captures interactions between the police officers and suspects. When patrol officers engage in enforcement activity, they are required to turn on their body-worn cameras. The circumstances of the arrest, including the search of the suspect, and any conversation between the officers and the suspect are now recorded. When it comes to questioning by our detectives, state law requires us to video record interrogations of adults suspected of serious crime. We impose additional requirements beyond those required by law and require video recording of additional felony interrogations, including all gun crimes. For juveniles, every interrogation is videotaped and subject to additional safeguards. We attempt to notify a parent or guardian in every instance and often will wait hours to allow a parent or guardian to arrive to be present for the interrogation. If the parent or guardian seek to discuss the matter with the juvenile, the detectives provide a private room so they can do so unrecorded. If at any point the parent or guardian say they do not wish for the juvenile to talk with us, the questioning is over. If at any point the juvenile or the parent requests an attorney, the questioning is over. Safety of the juveniles is in our custody is also critical, and they are not detained together with adults. So let me end where I began. We care deeply about preventing wrongful convictions. We have to get this right. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today, and we're pleased to answer any questions.
Thank you for that introduction. I'd also like to recognize Councilmember Rivera has joined us. I guess we can jump right into questions. I want to ask first, after patterns of wrongful convictions are identified, for example, through specific types of officer misconduct or faulty investigative procedures, does the NYPD conduct broader reviews of investigations conducted using similar practices or conducted by particular officers? For example, following the identification of misconduct by Detective Louis Scarella and the subsequent reversal of convictions arising from cases he investigated, did the NYPD conduct any review of the procedures and practices in place at the time that enabled such misconduct to go undetected? And have there been any changes to mechanisms for internal oversight of detective investigations that have since been put in place?
So Detective Scarpella, those incidents took place years ago and then came to light. He was already retired at that time. The mechanism we have in place right now, if there is, we are by far the most scrutinized police department in the country. Between internal affairs, the Force Investigation Division, professional standards, federal monitors, civilian advocates, we are constantly being scrutinized and being analyzed for misconduct. And the majority of the misconduct that is discovered within the NYPD, as far as testimony comes, is by us. We find it ourselves. Our Internal Affairs Bureau, sometimes while working with the district attorney's offices, who have a civilian complaint unit, public integrity unit, law enforcement accountability units. Judges also get involved sometimes where Giglio letters are issued to certain offices. We will then take all that information and go back and look, working with the district attorney's office and their wrongful conviction units, to look at all their previous cases that resulted in a conviction. Because, like I said earlier, we want to get this right. And sometimes where there's smoke, there's fire. And we will look at that particular office's conviction rate, and we will speak to the district attorneys that handle those cases as well.
Gotcha. I want to know also, as a follow-up, after a conviction is overturned, is the NYPD notified, and does it take steps to audit investigations conducted in similar circumstances to potentially identify broader issues within the department?
Once notified of a wrongful conviction, quite often in the NYPD, many procedures are created because of a mistake that was made or because of something that was done wrong. So if a wrongful conviction happened to come, based on a procedure that we didn't follow or wasn't followed correctly, obviously we would bring that to light and we would speak to the officers not only involved but to the entire job. So we do, follow up. If we see that a mistake was made, there'll be additional training within the Detective Bureau, and sometimes it results in additional procedures being added to our detective guide, things of that nature.
I want to know if any of the other members want to jump in.
If you want to turn over to members behind the list, I can start calling on them.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
And then we can come back to you. We're now going to offer members a chance to ask questions before returning to the chair. For member questions, we have council members Osei, Caban, Ariola, and Holden.
Good morning. Typically, how much time and money does the NYPD spend on interrogations?
I'm sorry, how much time
How
per
much time and-
interrogation?
Sure.
Each case is different.
Okay.
An interrogation could be simply you sit down and the subject is given Miranda rights. They ask for an attorney. The interrogation's over. It ends right there. Other interrogations could go on for a prolonged period of time, depending on the crime, depending on the circumstance.
And since the implementation of video recorded interrogations, has the number of false confessions decreased?
I've not been made aware of any wrongful confessions that resulted in a wrongful conviction since we started videotaping. I'm unaware of.
Okay. Is this potentially data that is publicly available somewhere?
So, good morning.
Morning.
A lot of the information is ultimately reviewed and contained by the DA's offices. They have conviction integrity review units. So after that is handed off to them, they're the ones who weigh all the evidence and do the analysis and make a determination about whether it would be false or not. And so that is data that I believe they're the custodians of and that they own. Of course, we have conversations with them, we communicate with them, but in regards to whether they provide that data in a public-facing fashion, for example, we heard about the article about the ones they dismissed. So I'm uncomfortable talking about something with 100% accuracy.
Sure. That makes sense. I know that you listed some of the accommodations in your testimony, but could you go into depth on what accommodations the NYPD provides children, individuals with intellectual disabilities, or those with limited English proficiency when they are interrogated?
Yes, so if there's a language barrier, we reach out to our operations unit, and they will provide us with a certified, trained translator for the length of the interrogation. We don't want there to be a language barrier when we conduct the interrogation itself. As far as juveniles, we give every opportunity and chance for a parent or guardian to be present during the administration of Miranda and the interrogation itself. If a parent or guardian is not available, we'll try to make accommodations to have another community member, either a member of the clergy or a coach or a teacher or a neighbor, be present. We want to go through lengths to make sure that the interrogation is done lawfully and done properly, and we'll make every effort to assure that the child has an adult that they trust in the room with them during the interrogation.
And why does the NYPD not use double-blind identification procedures if experts have said that is a method that would prevent faulty IDs?
We do use it for photo arrays.
Okay.
We changed that procedure a couple of years back. It is administered double-blind, meaning that a detective that's unfamiliar with the case and uninvolved with the case will administer the photo array. The photo array is prepared. The photographs are selected by a computer, not by a detective, based on the similarities of the subject in the photo array. It's put together randomly. It's then placed in a sealed envelope and given to the detective that will administer the photo array itself. So the detective that's going to administer the photo array has not seen the array, has not seen the photographs, and has no knowledge of the case. They will then bring that array or have the person come to them, and it will be administered by handing the sealed envelope to the witness, who will then open it and be given instructions. It's a strict script that is given, that is neutral language. It's not to be, suggestive at all. And then they will view that photo array and make their decision, their determination on whether or not they recognize anybody from there.
If a defense attorney requests a double-blind identification procedure, is that something that is granted to their client?
So just for the record, right, all photo arrays are double blind.
Okay.
Right? And so the other place there might be an identification would be a lineup. At a lineup, by the way, the numbers of lineups we've done have really drastically gone down.
Why is that?
Well, there's a bunch of reasons. The first is that we have a double-blind procedure. We have great confidence in that. We think it's a very strong, as you said, a very strong and best practice to do that. The second reason is, and if you need to correct me, please do, but during COVID, it was problematic, COVID-19 pandemic, it was problematic to assemble people and put them next to each other in a lineup. On top of that, the DA's offices also oftentimes, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, prefer the photo array. And what was the last part of the question? I'm sorry. Why don't we
when
do
a
the double-
defensive attorney requests a double-blind identification
So
procedure.
not to take anyone else's time,
Sure.
but just to speak on that quickly, when the lineup identification is done, the defense counsel is actually present,
Okay.
and they are allowed to make suggestions, and they can say, can we move this person there, and can you change the way this person's seated, or what's obstructing them, or what they're wearing, things like that. So we're trying to bring them into the process so that everything's up front and they have a say in it.
Noted. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember. Next, we'll hear from Councilmember Caban, followed by Councilmember Ariola.
Thank you. Also, I'm sorry, can I also ask for a headset, because I'm just having some trouble hearing? Good morning. I'm going to start by asking some questions specifically about some of the forensic analysis practices and kind of want to get into some of the forensic science or science. I'll start with latent fingerprints. So recently the NYPD disclosed that in 2015, detectives from the NYPD's latent print section mistakenly identified a known individual as a source of a latent print found at a crime scene in Brooklyn. And then the NYPD further disclosed that at the time of the misidentification, the department conducted an audit of the cases worked by those detectives and found no other discrepancies. So I want to ask a series of questions about this, starting with what entities were informed of the misidentifications at the time it was discovered by the NYPD.
Good morning, Councilman Neil Fenton. With respect to the latent prints issue in 2015, first of all, I want to say nobody was arrested with respect to that case. There was an I-card that was put out indicating that that person had...
But I'm more concerned about what the practices are,
Sure.
not whether an arrest was made or not.
No arrest was made. I want to put that on the record. Once that incident had happened that was related to a Brooklyn matter, the Brooklyn district attorney was informed of that. Thereafter, the NYPD conducted an internal investigation, reviewed all of those respective detectives' work, found no further misidentifications. We did not notify all of the other district attorneys' offices at that time. We instituted a considerable amount of retraining with respect to the subject, or two of the subject detectives. One of them was removed. Furthermore, we brought in outside national experts to retrain the entire latent print unit.
So I have some questions here because I want to make sure I'm getting specific information. So you let the Brooklyn DA's office know. You did not let any of the other DA's offices know. It is possible that this officer or this detective had cases pending in the other boroughs, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And you said that outside of the DA's office that you commissioned a national organization to do some sort of investigation.
The NYPD at the time, I wasn't there at the time, the NYPD, the commanding officer who was head of the latent print section, brought in two national experts.
Who were they?
Kenneth Martin as well as Glenn Langenberg.
So they were hired and paid by the NYPD to conduct this?
Correct.
Okay, so they were not independent from the NYPD?
They were independent. They assisted with the retraining of the latent print unit. They also assisted in developing additional protocols, specifically two additional protocols that the latent print section adopted, created a more conservative measure. Moreover, one of those experts, Kenneth Martin, was hired ultimately as our quality assurance director in 2016.
Now, are there records of the audit that was performed?
They are on the record as far as the paperwork that was turned over to the respective district attorney's offices and then ultimately defense counsel.
Okay, and are those records available to the public or this council?
Yes, and they've been turned over to the respective district attorney's offices. Moreover, they've been turned over to the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services, the Forensic Science Commission.
And one way that the laboratories handle major adverse events is to commission an independent external audit and a root cause analysis, such as the independent review. And you talked about that, saying that you hired this outside entity. Why didn't that entire process live outside of the NYPD?
Because regularly in forensic labs, root cause analysis are done by the respective labs themselves. For example, our forensic labs deal with, or they're accredited, number one, and the root cause analysis are done in forensic science all the time. So whether it's the OCME or NYPD lab, a root cause analysis is done, an investigation of a nonconformity, which this was, a mistake, if you will, a significant one. That mistake was investigated, a thorough root cause analysis was done. It was turned over to the respective district attorneys. Moreover, it was turned over when we realized that there was an error, that all of the district attorneys' offices were not informed in 2015.
Right, but if it was a mistake done by one of the detectives in your department, why didn't you see fit to have an outside audit done of all of the cases that that detective touched in all of the boroughs and inform every single DA of that?
Because normally in forensic science, they go to the other, they assemble bodies of other forensic sciences within the unit who do investigations. This was given to the supervisors. This went all as far as the commanding officer. They reviewed all of those respective latent print examiners.
So you did, so like to conclude all of that, you're saying that you did not, as a department, see it fit or appropriate to have an entirely outside, independent review of this and have every single case that that detective touched reviewed by a completely independent auditor, or let every single DA and every single borough know so that they had the option of opening up every single one of those cases?
We adhered to common practices in the Forensic Science Commission as adhered to by the New York State Forensic
That's not my
Commission and the
question. My
accrediting
question
lab.
is, you made the determination that it was not appropriate to do that entirely independent outside of the NYPD. That's my question.
As far as me, no. But the
You
commanding
on
officer
behalf
at the
of the NYPD.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question.
You on behalf of the NYPD. The universal you.
I wasn't working for the NYPD at that time, but the commanding officer at that time did not make that decision to turn that over to all of the respective district attorneys. They thought that, or I assume they thought, that notifying the one district attorney that was related to the case was enough.
Okay, thank you. I want to sign up for a second round of questions, and I would just like to conclude by saying that when people's lives are at stake, and nobody knows that better than the chair that's sitting in this room right now, that's just not good enough. And I'm looking forward to hearing from Legal Aid Wrongful Conviction Unit and their testimony, because I think that they'll bring a lot of good information to light. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Next, we'll hear from Councilmember Ariola, followed by Councilmember Holden.
Thank you. Thank you for coming here today. Thank you for the dedication that you have to go out there and catch people who are committing crimes and to do your due diligence to make sure that they are convicted the right way, and for knowing where you erred and where you needed to improve and implementing those measures. So I want to talk about DNA. Why is DNA legally, whether it's consent or by abandonment, why is that a sound investigative approach in a crime investigation?
DNA is the gold standard as far as forensic evidence. We seek to use DNA for as many cases as we can. Primarily, it goes with respect to felony investigations. Sometimes it goes to misdemeanor cases, dealing with sex-related offenses. DNA is established as a unique identification that is only held. We only have our own genetic code, with the exception of my twin, if you would have the same genetic code. What DNA does is that it attributes that identification to a unique person. It helps for an investigation to prove somebody's identification, but more importantly, it also helps to exculpate people. It has been used in wrongful conviction investigations. It has set the standard as far and help remove people who are not able to have who are able to exculpate themselves in this situation, able to provide information that they would not have been able to in the past. The science is excellent. We are able to test minimal, minor pieces of evidence now currently, or at least the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner is able to do that. We continue to improve our standards and practices with that, and it continues to help and foster investigations, both to find the guilty and certainly to exculpate those who have not done anything wrong.
Thank you. So everything that you're talking about here, DNA, double-blind photos, this is really to either show the guilt or the innocence of the person.
Right, to find the truth.
They're innocent, presumed innocent before, right? Before they go to court and are found guilty or exonerated. So with the double-blind photo arrays, when they're prepared and administered, you've said before, but I think it needs to be said again. How do you ensure they are a fair practice?
Just the fact that the photographs themselves are generated by a computer and not done by a detective themselves. So they're selected randomly by the computer based on physical characteristics. So they, are similar in their appearance, so it's, done fairly and just. But the key is the fact that it's then sealed in an envelope and handed to another detective that has absolutely nothing to do with the case. And in some instances where, with some staffing limitations, if there is a high-profile case, a homicide or a non-fatal shooting, where the entire squad is working on a case and an entire squad is familiar with the case, we'll actually have a detective from an outside squad come in to administer that photo array, just to assure, so we have quality assurance to make nothing suggestive is being done. There's a strict script that has to be read at every photo array, even at the notification process when we notify a witness or a victim to come down, or we're going to come bring the photo array to them. We're not allowed to say, hey, we have a picture of the guy that did it. We're going to want you to look at it. We don't give any suggestion whatsoever. It's almost kind of like a blank statement, borderline rude, when we speak to them, is that we give them absolutely no information of what's going on in that photo array. And then they unseal it themselves. And then the photo array is administered. And often, some cases, it's audio taped. The review of the photo array is actually audio taped based on the witness's discretion.
And that unsealing of that envelope happens in front of the person who was arrested and their attorney?
No, the photo array is administered separately. That is done not in the presence.
I'm sorry, it's
the
to
lineup is done.
I'm sorry, the lineup.
The lineup itself is done with
the the person who has the victim.
And even the lineup procedures themselves, one rarely done, but when they are done, same rules apply. No suggestive language. The suspect actually gets to pick their position in the lineup. If there's a height discrepancy of the fillers in the lineup, everybody sits down. If we have a problem with clothing, where we can't have everybody wear the same clothing, a sheet will be utilized, so they're only viewing the lineup from the head up. We make every attempt to make it as fair as possible.
Yeah, so that nothing is compromised. And Chair, if you'll just indulge me for one more moment. So are there any other steps that in recent years that you've taken to improve fairness and impartiality, and what were these steps?
Well, besides the double blind on the photo arrays themselves, in 2010, Police Commissioner Ray Kelly began a pilot program to where we would begin doing video interrogations. It was being utilized in 2 squads citywide. Based on that pilot program, we went citywide with that in 2012. As you know, we weren't mandated to do this until 2017, so we were actually almost 7 years ahead of the curve in putting together our ensuring that our interrogations were videotaped. But this is just one piece of the puzzle. The lineups, the photo arrays. The other work that we do forensically, the utilization of technology, the utilization of video canvases, kind of puts the whole thing together. We don't rely specifically just on one aspect. You know, the district attorney's offices have raised the bar of obtaining probable cause to be so high. We don't just rely on one aspect of a piece of evidence. We look for multiple pieces of evidence that will come during a video canvass to tie into the interrogation, to tie into the photo array or the lineup.
So I just want to end with saying thank you, because you still do your job, even though you're under such scrutiny, and you still do your job and you do it well. And the level of convictions that you have of people who are wrongfully convicted are much less than those who were rightfully convicted. Thank you for what you do every day to keep us safe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. We're going to turn quickly back to the chair for one question, followed by Councilmember Holden and then Marte.
Thank you for that. You know, I'm listening and considering all of the testimony today, and I can't help but reflect on my personal journey through the criminal legal system. You know, we were placed in lineups, and we were not identified by anyone in those lineups, but yet we still went to prison for those crimes that we didn't commit. And one of the worst parts about that case, as an example, is that the real perpetrator was out there actually committing more crimes, ultimately killing, or his motto from his own mouth was your eyes or your life, that he was taking his victims' eyes, or if they wanted to live, he would take their eyes, and at the end of his crime spree, he was just killing them. I believe Amy Goodman was living in the building that housed Lourdes Gonzalez, who was a young pregnant Latina woman. And, you know, our families, the communities, they kept crying out and saying, these guys didn't do it. You guys have to look for the real perpetrator of the crime. And the worst part, like I said, is that that perpetrator, even though he was caught months later, he actually killed his last victim, Lourdes Gonzalez, who could have been alive today. You know, he killed her and her unborn children. And his testimony was so disturbing. He said that, you know, when he went into her home, he brandished a knife, and she pleaded with him and asked him, can I just put my children? She was there with her children. Can I put my children in the next room? And he said, sure. She then put her children in the next room, and I can imagine, I'm not a woman, nor have I ever been raped, but I can imagine that she probably said to herself, this is going to be the absolute worst experience that I've ever had, but I'm going to get through it. He then raped her and then began to stab her to death. And the tenants in the building that Amy Goodman was in came out of their homes hearing the cries of Lourdes Gonzalez, and they held him until the police department came to get him. It's one of the most sad examples of why we need protections. And, you know, this lady could have been alive today. Her husband could have appreciated the fact that he still had a wife, and her children could have appreciated the fact that she was still alive as well. You know, I wanted to ask as a follow-up in terms of the testimony that's been given today. Does the NYPD oppose requirements that lineups be conducted using double-blind procedures? And if so, why? And are you aware of other jurisdictions in New York State and in the country that mandate double-blind lineups and recording of statements while in police custody?
Chair, I think your point is very well made. I just want to talk for a second on lineups. Just to give some perspective, we did, of 6,000 cases, 7,800 photo arrays in 2023, right? 6,000 cases, 7,800 photo arrays in 23. You compare that with the lineups, 14 cases, 16 lineups. So, as I was explaining, as I was mentioning earlier, the amount of lineups we've done have super plummeted. Because we believe the double-blind standard for a photo array really is the best practices for doing it. And I know we said it in the opening statement, but I know we're sitting across from each other on different sides of this dais, but although we're across from each other, we're on the same page about wrongful convictions for every reason that you mentioned, not only because an innocent person goes to jail, but also because someone else is still out there in the community. So we can step back another year. We can go to 2022. 5,700 cases, 7,200 photo arrays. Okay, but when you look at the lineups, 17 cases, 24 lineups. So those numbers have been steadily diminishing. I don't know what they're going to look like in the future, but in regards to something like enacting a policy for double-blind for lineups, we're always willing to have a conversation. That's why we are here today. We want to be able to have an open and engaged dialogue about this. And so that's certainly something we can bring back, but there's many, many stakeholders that have to weigh in on something like this, so I can't, give an official position, but we can certainly talk about it and bring it back. I hope that answers the question.
Absolutely. And I appreciate the fact that we actually are, at this particular point in time, really aligned. And what I mean by that is that, when I think about statements like the mayor saying, we are graduating the next guardians of society, I take exception to that, because for the department to, in many cases, utilize their position to be a position where they add value to the community, where they are actually trying to do the work. We heard about other officers in the past that have done tremendously horrible work. And of course, we know that the police department has been brushstroked by that horror. I've also met officers who have done tremendous work and have family members who are officers as well. And so I appreciate that particular part, I was wondering what circumstances a particular procedure would be utilized in terms of what we're talking about as well.
Just a bit of clarification. What exactly do you mean? What procedures would be used during what?
Well, we've been talking about photo arrays, but I'm thinking specifically about lineups in general.
Like I stated earlier a little bit, the lineup procedure itself, a detective can't just decide they're going to do a lineup. They have to get authorization from a supervisor. All right, the supervisor has multiple steps and layers that they have to go through. They have to ensure that it's done properly. They have to ensure that the correct paperwork is done. They have to ensure that it's done in an appropriate facility. They have to keep the witnesses separated, obtain translators if needed, and they observe the entire process. It's defense counsel is allowed to be present and can make suggestions, reasonable suggestions to the lineup. For instance, the clothing issue that we spoke about, hey, the height is a little bit weird, can they sit down, things of that nature. If there's a discrepancy, we get our legal bureau involved and they work it out with the lawyer. And in many cases, the assistant district attorney that's handling the case is also present for the lineup. So, that's some of the steps that we take to assure that it's done properly. The lineup itself, a photograph is taken of the full lineup to memorialize it. Certainly we can discuss the double-blind procedure that you're recommending. It falls right into what we're discussing with photo arrays, but it's a very interesting aspect that I find that part very interesting.
As I sit here, I also have many hats in the community. One of those hats is that I sit on the board of the Innocence Project. And the work that we've done kind of guides me in terms of asking questions like, are there any procedures that the NYPD is putting in place right now to review, I kind of almost want to say all of the cases that have been adjudicated so far. And the reason why I say that is because, as you can imagine, as I was sworn into office, I also received hundreds, if not thousands, of phone calls from people that are in prison right now. My staff receives so many letters, and we're trying to figure out how do we address this. So many people are telling us, I, like you, I'm in prison for a crime that I didn't commit. And of course, some of it involves DNA, some of it does not involve DNA. But what I've found is that people in prison who are actually guilty, they say to themselves, man, I just got caught. But the ones who are not guilty always maintain their innocence, always echo that. And so I'm wondering, is there a process, and I know that they have conviction interrogator units and things of that nature from the DA's office, but from the police department itself, trying to make sure, in fact, that no one goes to prison for a crime that they did not commit. And I know that there's things that we're doing today, but just from, this is gonna be 35 years later for me, April 19th, 1989. And that's a long period of time in terms of going back to verify, in fact, that every single person that is there rightly, or those who are not are released. Because, like I said, I'll end on this part, with the Innocence Project work, in New York City alone, there have been hundreds of people that have been released through the efforts of the Innocence Project, through DNA evidence. And when I think about the innocence networks around the nation, thousands of individuals through DNA evidence have been released.
So I think we're going to be saying a lot up here, the important part that DNA plays. I think the Innocent Project said 63% or so of cases exonerated via DNA, but also in the role that it does in helping to make sure that the right person on, God forbid, a sexual assault case is brought to justice. But in regards to your question about what we are doing, I think there's 3 prongs. I think the first prong is the hand-in-hand work that we do with the conviction integrity review units of the DA's offices. They want to review cases, and we want them to be able to review cases because we need to make sure we are on the right side of this. And so when they ask for records, we could say, go get a subpoena, which you can't get unless there's litigation. We could say FOIL it. We don't do that. We work hand in hand with them to make sure they get all the records they need. Cold case files 20 years ago, we produce those. We want to make, this is important to us, we want to get this right. So that's factor number 1. Factor number 2, we have a lot of mechanisms internally that give oversight to the investigative process and the work that the officers themselves are doing. You have supervisors, you have integrity control, you have higher level chiefs. Everybody's reviewing. And so there's always eyes on these things internally. And then I think the third factor is, I heard what you said, that you weren't ID'd in the lineup, and yet conviction anyway. And I do just want to say that I think there has been a sea change in the public understanding, as well as the amount of scrutiny that the defense, the prosecution, and the bar themselves puts on things now. And so I feel like you have multiple layers of oversight, one of the most important being the DAs themselves are going to be like, this is not, we got the whole video interrogation's recorded. And so if there was a mistake or a problem or something wasn't recorded, that's a basis for saying, we're not going to do this. So, and we welcome the scrutiny. I think it's because we take pride, and I shouldn't speak for, but go ahead.
If I may, just going back to the way that the cases are reviewed. Previously, cases were paper. They were kept in a folder, and the lead detective would have that folder in his desk, and it was inaccessible to anybody. That detective had that case, and quite frankly, could put anything he wanted in there that was involved in the case. What we have now is an electronic case management system that's done online. Everything is done electronically. So everything is time-stamped, everything is done in real time, everything is accessible to multiple layers of supervision in the NYPD. But not only that, the district attorney's offices also have access to our electronic case management system. So they can go in and look at what the progress of the case is, or what steps might have been taken wrong or right. They can then question. As far as my level, I do case reviews constantly. The cases are reviewed for CompStat. The cases are reviewed for Burostat, SpikeStat, DomStat. They're always being reviewed. And like I said, everything is time-stamped, it's done in chronological order, and it's there to be viewed by the district attorney's office. All video interrogations are forwarded to the district attorney via this electronic management system. All body-worn camera that's added to the case is forwarded to them. They can watch it in real time. They don't have to go digging through it. We have transparency with that. We give that to them. If we do see that a detective is struggling, I'm not just talking, a wrongful conviction, but in any case, we can go back and review their 10, 15, 20 previous cases to see, is there a pattern of misconduct, or is there just a pattern that the detective needs some training to see what's going on with it? So we provide all of that. Then add on top of that, everything that we do once an arrest is made immediately goes to discovery. The defense attorney has provided everything that we have.
I mean, I appreciate what you're saying and what you've said. I'm concerned specifically because, as mentioned, the Central Park Jogger case is a case that was very front and center. The video interrogations weren't the full custodial video interrogations for the individuals who actually made those false confessions were not recorded from the beginning all the way through. And in the most egregious acts, Corey Wise made multiple false statements. I'm wondering, because I know you've said that these procedures are in place to do these things, but I'm wondering, I guess my concern is this. The detectives that interrogated us were members of Manhattan North Homicide Detective Squad. As been said, this detective squad was such an elite unit that you couldn't even apply to become one of those detectives unless you had 20 years of experience on the job. And I think about 20 years of experience, that makes a person an expert, right? But yet in the Central Park Jogger case, as the example that I'm involved in or was involved in, there was so many things that went wrong. And I know that these are procedures that we're talking about that are in place now. My concern is not just also from the now, but also from the past, because there's so many people that are still reaching out to our office, trying to get, justice, if you will.
And we're committed to helping with that. He said we don't refuse any request from any of the wrongful conviction units, from any of the district attorney's office, nor from the Eastern or Southern District. We're more than willing to help. We give them every resource that's available to us to make that happen. He said we do not want wrongful convictions. We want to catch the right person. And you brought up the perfect analogy. If the wrong person's in jail, the right person is still out there committing crimes, against the community, and that's something that goes completely against our core values. We're here to protect life. We're here to protect people from crime. And if by some mistake that was made inadvertently, on purpose, a forensic mistake, we have to clear that up. We have to get this right.
Well, just as a in for this particular part for me, worst part about our story, worst part about the case itself was that many of the laws that related to juveniles in New York and also throughout the nation were changed because of the Central Park Jogger case. They said, look, these are the poster child of deviance. These individuals right here represent where we are in America, and therefore we need to change the laws so that we can adjudicate these individuals as adults at lower ages. And I know a lot of that stuff is changing, but much of the laws that were created as it relates to what happened with us never were changed. There's a lot of efforts that we're trying to fix that now. And the worst part is that, and I don't want to sound cliche, but there was a speedy method that convicted us, a speedy method that sent us to prison. There was no speedy method that made us whole.
Councilmember Holden. Councilmember Holden.
Thank you all for your testimony, and I just want to touch base of the department today, the detective squads today. For instance, I'll give you my precinct, the one that I represent 90% of. They used to have 20 squad detectives in the squad. Now they have 9. So, Chief, there are a lot, obviously with your testimony, there's a lot more to do as a detective. Could you talk about the workload that our detectives are facing? Because that should have been a topic of this hearing. Because I'm hearing some precincts have one detective might have 500 cases. How in the world could you investigate on a level, world-class level, with 500 cases per year?
It's definitely a citywide problem. It's not isolated to your command. This is it speaks to a bigger picture of recruitment and retention. As we have our experienced detectives and members on patrol retiring, we're not backfilling them fast enough with new candidates. The procedure for itself, just to even get into the Detective Bureau, is obviously a strenuous one. We want the best of the best, but add into the fact that the pool patrol used to be our pool that we chose from, and we have a very limited pool now based on staffing levels because of recruitment and retention.
So, and again, what you have to do is probably 30 years ago, 40 years ago, we didn't have the technology, certainly, that we have now. But now there's more demands on the individual detective. Like you mentioned, they have to get approval from supervisor to do this, to that.
Yes.
Especially now, we have to comply with discovery laws. I mean, your testimony, all of you, it's amazing. You came prepared, and it shows in your answers. But can you discuss how the department navigates complex requirements of discovery, particularly with handling or sharing video metadata, or to ensure transparency and accountability?
Good morning, Chair Salam, council members. So over the course of the last however many years, 4 or 5 years or so, since criminal justice reform that includes bail reform and discovery reform, the department has dedicated, a tremendous amount of resources to meet the burdens and the requirements of discovery laws pursuant to 245. That's both technological advances in addition to dedication of resources to comply with discovery in order to have a viable or a successful prosecution. So first and foremost, when we speak about technology, we've automated systems, and it's become a strictly digital transferring of discovery to our local prosecuting agencies, our 5 district attorneys' offices, special narcotics, and the law department, family court division. What I mean by that is everything is uploaded centrally to our systems and then transferred over to the relative prosecuting agency. There's an ongoing dialogue between NYPD and the local prosecuting agencies with respect to this. We have met with the IT specialists to synchronize the systems so that they can receive it in a timely, effective, and neat manner. Now, this is primarily how it works. Materials are memorialized, documented, preserved, and transferred. Are there scenarios where local prosecutors have difficulty in obtaining certain discoverable materials that exist? There are, and there are policies in place with respect to how to go about this. Department-wide policy is that the arresting officer is responsible for the transfer of all discoverable materials. There are scenarios where the arresting officer may be out, where the arresting officer may be on vacation, or the district attorney or the prosecuting agency may need that material in a more timely manner than the arresting officer is able to provide. There are citywide contacts provided to our local prosecutors within each command as an escalation method from the arresting officer. And in addition to designated discovery liaisons within the precincts and commands, there are centralized discovery liaison units embedded in the local prosecuting offices that assist with proactively more complex cases that involve discovery, and then also any requests that the DAs have where they were unable to obtain that discovery in the earlier methods that I disclosed. So in sum, there are resources dedicated, both whether it's a uniformed member of the service or the technological advancements and the overall facelift of the infrastructure over the past however many years. But again, that ongoing dialogue between the district attorney's offices and the police department will continue to further develop additional enhancements for a more seamless transmission of discovery.
All right, Chair, can I just follow up on something? I had an incident when I first got elected where somebody threatened to bomb my house, let's say, and it was. And the detective on the job came over with the computerized lineup or the photo array. It was too good because, heavyset, bald man, white man, with a double chin, let's say. I got every one of those on the photo array looked identical, looked like the same person. Now, that could be a problem because the way the computer does it, and nobody could do anything to change that, it can come up with people that look alike, obviously, and they do that. That is a problem when you're the witness and you're looking at somebody from 100 feet away. So how do you address that other than, like you said, the real lineup, the traditional lineup? But what do you do in that case when the computer's too good?
Well, I mean, here's the way I would put it. I'm not sure we care about the integrity of things. We want to get it right. And so I'm not sure we see it as a problem to make sure that the witness is able to confidently say, right, that's the guy. We want to have faith.
I know, but where the person, well, I swore, and I'm a visual person, I'm in the arts, I thought it was the same person. I said, you got 3 images or 4 images of the same person here. So there are cases, I mean, I did speak to enough detectives when this system was changed, by the way, we kind of did away with the traditional lineup, that they were frustrated because the witnesses couldn't really pick out that person because they looked too identical. So I know what I saw. I saw, somebody pulling away from my driveway, and I saw it from, 75 to 100 feet. So I had an idea of, what it looked like, and I described it. Same person, it looked like the same person at all.
Gotcha. So I guess there's 2 points to that real quick. Number one, under the law, if there's like a no-hit, which is where the witness says, I can't tell, you can administer a photo array again later, number one. Maybe the witness was having a bad day or whatever, right? Number two, we also have, back in the day, witness ID was very important before the advent of all this other technology we have, right? So we've got, maybe nowadays there'd be 5 cameras in the neighborhood, right, showing the person pulling away or walking up. We have cell site technology. We can do search warrant requests to see where that person's GPS data says. And so even, ultimately the DAs are the arbiters of this, but even in a case where the witness wasn't 100% certain, we have all these other things we can use to build the case and present it with confidence. And if I've said anything wrong, please correct me.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Holden.
Thank you.
Next we'll hear from Councilmember Stevens, followed by Palladino.
And I just wanted to recognize Councilmember Yeager has joined us as well.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Stevens, followed by Palladino.
Thank you. There's something that was just said a couple of times that I just wanted to say that just wasn't sitting well with me. It was said a couple of times, like, we are under so much scrutiny as NYPD. But I also just want to note that you guys are one of the biggest forces, and when it's convenient, transparency seems to be scrutiny when we're actually just looking for transparency. So that's been said a couple of times, but I did want to make sure we clarify that because I think these conversations sometimes get tainted because when it's convenient, it's like, oh, we're being scrutinized, and that's not what's happening. It's about transparency, and us all being here together to make sure things are being done equitably, because we know historically that has not been the case. So I needed to say that because I heard that way too many times today. And I have a couple of questions. I'm going to start one with, when computer assemble the photo array, is this done using AI and have identifying biases and using that program? Has there been anything identifying biases?
So I would have to double check about how the technology exactly assembles it. What I know is that a human being doesn't do it, so there's no taint, there's no bias. But how unless you're...
Well, we know a lot of the AI technology does have biases, so
True.
Even if it's not human, that doesn't mean there's not biases. So I just want to make sure
It's
we
made
clarify
by
that.
people. Right.
Exactly.
No, I got you. I get that. Trust me. But I don't want to speak. We tried to prep a lot of topics so we could come here and open. That's something I need to look into for
Okay.
you.
So if you, when you look into that, definitely if you can send that to the committee staff so we can start to dive a little deeper into that, because I think that that's one of the things that needs to be talked about, right? Like there are some biases and even thinking about, when we're talking about facial recognition, all those things, that we've been proving that there's been biases, especially when it comes to people of darker hues than others. The next question I have is just around, it was said that juveniles that are interrogated, that there's usually a parent or a guardian or someone are usually there. What percentage of juveniles that are being interrogated are done with parents, and what's the percentage of without parents or guardians or adults?
So we wanted to look into this. I went back to the system we have, which is the Enterprise Case Management System. Ultimately, it was originally designed as a case management system, not as like a data aggregation technology. So I tried to run that, or at least I had the people try to run that, and it's not easily data mined. There's no way to just be like, boop, like in Excel, and press a button and it spits out every time a parent or guardian was present. But here's what I can tell you. That is memorialized. It is annotated in different places inside the case. It's just not something where we can go clickety-clack and outspits the number.
We don't think that this is important information to be tracking, because I think it is important for us to know how many young people are having conversations with authorities without an adult supervision there and a guardian. So if that isn't something we're tracking, I think that we need to move in that direction, and we should be able to go and click a button and get that information.
I have no dispute with that whatsoever. I would love to live in a world where any time in preparation for this, I would love to be able to hit boop, beep, boop, and get it. So that's certainly something we can look into. But again, just for the record, I don't want to eat your time, but it is memorialized. It's just not in an easily spread out.
No, I hear what you're saying. No, I understand. You're just saying like it's not as easy to aggregate, but I think that that's something we need to get to a place where we are aggregating that, because we know that young people who've come into custody and been in contact with authorities are much more likely to be coerced. So, and are you aware that in California, Hawaii, Maryland, and Washington are all states that prohibit interrogations with minors without providing them with a lawyer or assisting them during their right to remain silent?
So I would have to, I was trying to do some research on that. I'd have to take your word on that. I do know that some states have indeed done that.
And do you understand why we're not moving in that direction, especially if we are not even at this point? I know you said you're keeping track of it, but we don't have the information to show that young people, I'm just saying, just trying to make the comparison where, like, because you're keeping track of it, but you're not able to pull the data around these young people, but it sounds like maybe we should be moving in a direction where we're having lawyers present. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I can tell you this. A higher percentage of juveniles invoke Miranda or the right to counsel than when you compare it to adults. And so, at least according to the numbers I asked...
Do you have that percentage?
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on one second. Okay. Approximately 35% of juveniles, this is just 23, this is just 2023. Approximately 35% of juveniles invoked, whether it be silence or counsel, and approximately 27% of adults, in other words, 18 years or older, invoked. So this is something I flagged because I thought it was interesting that more juveniles actually invoked than adults. So we take these things very seriously. As the chief said, we want the parent, the guardian to be there. We wait hours sometimes for them to show up. And in regards to the other thing you said, why we're not doing that, I can't comment on, there's a state bill pending I can't comment on what its status is or why it's moving or why it's not moving. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, even when we're looking at 35% of young people invoking, I'm happy some of them are, but that's still a lot, right? And just understanding that when young people are there, them not invoking to me it doesn't sit well with me in the sense that a young person can be easily intimidated and say what they need to say. I mean, we know this. And so I think even us, as we're moving forward, how are we making sure that young people are protected in this way, and thinking about how we are making sure not only are parents present, but lawyers are present, because even parents can sometimes not understand some of the processes and say some things. And so thank you for your time, and thank you.
Can I
Thank
just
you.
follow up with that too? Because one of the challenges I think that has been identified by Councilmember Stevens is the fact that other places like Hawaii, California, Maryland, Washington State, they all prohibit specifically the interrogation of minors without assisting them with a lawyer or somebody that's going to advocate for them. And I'm wondering, would the NYPD support a similar policy in New York?
So ultimately, our position on that is this. We are responsible to many parties in the city. Not only are we responsible to the civil rights as enshrined by the Constitution and all the case law of the suspect, but also to the victim and/or the victim's family. So what does that mean, right? What that means is we're trying to be the center of the seesaw that's respecting both sides. And so we feel that's a decision to be best left to the family, for them to make, for the parent to come down, and if they want to invoke and waive, so be it, done, in the conversation. But that's why we support, because ultimately at the end of the day, we do see juveniles do commit some serious crimes. And so there's that tension, and we're trying to find the right balance between those two things.
So I'm concerned specifically because when I think about, again, the Central Park Jogger case, there were parents that were there in some instances who knew nothing about the law at all. You know, in one instance, one of the members' family had to go home because she was there so long she needed to get her medicine. And so she left her daughter to advocate for her and for her brother. And you know, when she took over, the worst part about that particular situation in terms of protections is that she was basically told, you know, just go along with the process by the brother, right? Specifically Kevin Richardson. Kevin Richardson said, look, they told me I can go home. If I just say this, I'm just trying to go home. And she said, what are you talking, you did this? He said, I didn't do this, but just sign the document so that I can get out of here. You know, and the worst part about it is that when it comes to the protections of the most vulnerable individuals, our young people, you know, a lot of times we know that there has been testimony, I think this may be changing, but there's been testimony that NYPD is actually allowed to lie to individuals to get them to pull the confession out of them and things of that nature. But I think the advances that places like Hawaii, California, Maryland, Washington State have done really should be applied. It should be applied to New York, because I don't want a situation where a parent is coming in and saying, we're waiving our rights, or a child is saying, we're waiving our rights, right? I think, and this is a bit of satire, right? The fact that it's kind of in order, you have the right to remain silent. And if you don't remain silent, anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. I think that's very telling, right? You have the right to this. You have all of those things. If I waive my rights as a child or as an adult who doesn't truly understand the implications of why I should never waive my rights, all of the things should be protected with an attorney or an advocate who truly understands what's going on, so that we make sure that a person is not convicted, or, you know, as Council Member Holden demonstrated very, very clearly and profoundly, and unfortunately for personal experience, you know, how faulty witness identification is, you know. So I just wanted to kind of put that there and as a statement.
Thank you, Chair. We'll turn to Councilmember Palladino, and then we're going to do a second round of questions if anyone has any additional questions they'd like to ask.
I can't hear you, I'm sorry. You'll have to remove the mask. Can I hear you, please?
No, I'm not going to remove my mask. You could go ahead.
Okay, then what instructions did you just give me?
I said that you're going to be able to ask questions.
Thank you, that's what, okay, thank you. I couldn't understand you. Good afternoon. I want to thank you all for being here. I especially want to thank Joseph Kenny, the Chief of Detectives for the New York City Police Department, and all of you gentlemen sitting here at the dais, once again, completely and ultimately prepared for what was going to be placed in front of you. And I thank you, because once again, you've come under scrutiny again. The year is 2024, it's not 1980. You've made that very clear. You've come a very long way. Our department has come an extremely long way. We're no longer dealing with paper. We are dealing with electronic filings and everything on a spreadsheet. You guys know your job. Now, my question lies within, what about those that are wrongfully released, that are guilty because we don't have enough evidence? What happens to those people? I also have another question about how we're dealing with the loss of our police department, that you guys have suffered a great loss, a tremendous loss, over 2,000 in the year 2023. I also want to be clear, and I just want to reiterate what Joseph Kenny has said. To be clear, even one wrongful conviction is too many. It's a sickening reality when we do find out that someone has been wrongfully convicted. However, I think in the year 2024, we have reduced that by a great number, and if you could supply that with the then and the now in our figures would be helpful to us as well to understand. Are you able to do that?
Can I ask a question as well? The council member said wrongfully released, and I just wanted to get some clarity on what that means. Because I know wrongful convictions is something where a person actually is adjudicated.
There's a lot of people who are brought in that are guilty and are released because there's not enough evidence to hold them due to the discovery laws. So I'm just curious, there have been a great many wrongfully convicted, but there's also been a lot of people who have been released and they are indeed guilty. So I just want to know how.
So not that they've been adjudicated.
I'm asking them.
Oh no, I was asking for clarity because when I heard the word wrongfully released,
I just clarified.
I was
And they
I was not.
and let
Yeah,
the
it wasn't
police-
clear.
Let's who's sitting in front of us clarify that for me, please.
So let me maybe I can direct this to you all as well, because if this is actually something that happens, that people are wrongfully released, I'm wondering what that means, because I know wrongfully convicted is you've been adjudicated, you went to prison, something happened, and they found out, damn, we got the wrong person. Whereas wrongfully released is kind of a little bit unclear to me, because I'm thinking about Khalif Browder as an example. Goes to prison, is waiting, years go by, he then is released, and then a documentary is made for him to really talk about the issues, but he ultimately takes his own life because he couldn't turn the trauma off. I just was, in terms of clarity, is there such things as wrongfully released?
What we see is quite often what will happen during the course of an investigation. We will make an arrest. The police department will feel that we have enough probable cause based on the evidence that we've put together, right? Evidence-based prosecution, along with other things, using technology, using forensics. We will make the arrest. There are instances where we will present the facts of the case to the district attorney's office, who will then maybe perhaps require one or two more things and would decline to prosecute the case or defer the case, and then that person would be released. We work with the district attorney's office on high-profile cases. We usually coordinate with them to decide the threshold of probable cause. We usually don't make an arrest without their assistance or their coordination with us. But in cases where there could be some discovery issues, where a decline to prosecute will be made by the district attorney's office.
Is that all right, Chair?
Yes, absolutely.
And I just wanted to add
Wait,
some.
hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. Hold on. Reset my clock, make sure I'm at the proper time, and no one can talk over me. I won't allow it. This has happened again and again and again. Stop. I have questions here, and I have a police department sitting in front of me that is incredibly credible and prepared for today. So while they are once again undergoing what I consider being cross-examined, you guys have brought us very much up to date. The year is 2024. I don't want to hear about the 1980s. I don't want to hear about 2015. I want to know, present day, how hard you are working and what you guys are doing to prevent this from ever happening again. And you've laid it out very, very nicely. So if you could please supply me and the panel here with what we have today and what we have in, how many unsolved cases do we have?
For the number of cases, I can just speak for homicides last year. We had a clearance rate of 70% of our homicides in 2023. We had a 47% clearance rate in our non-fatal shootings, which was the highest clearance rate since we've been keeping track of that data. So we are closing our cases with positive results many occasions, more often than not.
Very good. Okay, like I said, thank you very much. I got thrown totally off track here, but that's all right. We know the kind of job you're doing. We appreciate your hard work, and you can't get any more explicit than what you laid out here for us today and what you laid out for the public here today. And I don't think we're going to see very many more wrongfully convicted because of the evidences, because of the way you pursue it. One thing I would like to say, if we could go back to the lineups and in person, the sooner the better. That certainly does help. And that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I wanted to just acknowledge also that we've been joined by Council Member Carmen De La Rosa.
Thank you, Councilmember. We're now going to have a second round of questions if any council members want to ask. We're going to first turn to Councilmember Caban, and then if any other members, please make yourself known.
Thank you. I have a lot of questions, so I'm going to try to be brief, and I'm going to ask for y'all to be as direct and concise as possible as well. You testified earlier that you want to get it right, correct? And that you are really good about coordinating with the DA's office, that you don't require them to FOIL information to subpoena, but that you cooperate because you want to get it right, correct?
Well, because we think it's important to have a partnership with them on this important issue, yes.
So you want to be an open book for them, right?
I don't know what that means.
Well, you're saying that you cooperate with them because you want to get it right, and so you don't ask them to FOIL or subpoena, but when they ask you for things, you give it to them.
As I understand it, when they ask us for the records, we make sure to provide them with the records, even if it's an old case or a cold case.
So you have a system called Finest. I think it's also called Forms, correct?
Yes, there is a data management system called Finest.
Yes. And so when you have arrest reports and other documents that are put there. There's another data management system that it contains like DD5s and other things. You have a couple of data management systems, but I want to focus on Finest for a second. Okay?
Finest is the trunk of the tree, and all the other ones come
right.
up.
I want to focus on Finest for a second. So you don't allow personnel from the district attorney's offices to have access to view and retrieve documents from that Finest system, correct?
So again, council member,
It's yes or no question.
they do not have direct access.
Okay. And so what's the reason for limiting the DA's ability to view these internal NYPD systems so that they can search the systems and provide complete and timely discovery?
The records management systems, which we maintain where our discovery ultimately lies before it's transferred to the district attorney's offices, are not compartmentalized. So what that means is, yes, there is data and material relating to an arrest that lives on that system, but there's also a vast amount of materials that have no relation to an arrest, therefore are not discoverable under the law, and therefore...
But there are ways to put up firewalls, there are ways to do search functions. You just said that you want this to happen fast, you want prosecutions to be taking place. There's all this talk about how we can't get discovery in time, but you're not letting them in to get this stuff. Does the NYPD ever redact officer disciplinary records or reports before they're provided to the DAs?
Disciplinary records?
Yes.
There are circumstances where law dictates that we redact records prior to disclosing it to an outside party, such as the district attorney's office.
Why?
Certain records must be redacted prior to turning over to a third
Why?
party. There's civil rights law, there's
Explain it, why?
family court law.
Why? What is the basis for doing that when that disciplinary record tied to that officer, who is likely the arresting officer, who likely generates the DD-5s and all of the evidence that then gets handed over to the DA, that they rely on for everything from an indictment to a bail request to a trial, right, to prove a case beyond a reasonable doubt where a person's liberty is at stake? Why?
Councilmember, I'm hearing you, however.
Because that case gets thrown out. Because let me give you a scenario, right? In my almost decade of practice as a public defense attorney, I had a situation where I had a client. The client, we got what we thought was all the discovery. A year later, this person lost their housing, they lost their kids. They were losing everything. We get to trial, it's time to do the suppression hearings, and the DA hands over disciplinary records of the officer that were held back by the NYPD, and the judge calls us up and says, get rid of this case, there's no way you can put this cop on the stand, the damage has been done. Why is it that the NYPD reacts to disciplinary reports before they're provided to the DA? Why isn't that given from jump when an adjudication begins?
So that's an unfortunate scenario, and
Oh, it's a regular
apologies.
scenario, but I want to know why. I don't want to know that it's unfortunate or whatever. I want to know why.
NYPD's priority is to be compliant with the law.
I thought it was to get it right.
It's both.
Those things often go hand in hand. And Councilmember, just one other thing. Let's just be very clear. You were a public defender.
you answered
Wait, no,
my-
no. Wait, you understand the difference between redacting and then not providing. In the scenario you gave,
Timing is everything, and so I want to know why it's redacted from the beginning, why it's not handed over, why it's not transparent from the beginning.
So you started
And I
with
got my answer, so I'm going to move on because I only have 45 seconds left. Another question I want to ask is something that the chair mentioned. Different policies that other places have taken up. So there's a policy that was just enacted in Seattle which would prohibit and require approval for officers from knowingly making false statements in ruses, essentially not allowing officers to lie to people to elicit confessions or whatever it might be. Would you consider adopting a similar policy here in New York City?
We're always willing to engage and talk about anything in regards to what we think would make better investigative techniques and create better products, convictions, arrest packages. And ultimately, at the end of the day, we want to make sure that what we're doing is lawful, which you can see throughout all of our procedures.
Chair, may I ask just one additional question? Does your lab still, and I'm jumping around a little bit, but does your lab still do bite mark analysis testing?
No, we do not. No, number one, that's the function of the chief medical examiner. A medical doctor would review a bite mark, a forensic odontologist.
Okay. I just want to conclude by saying and providing for the record that you all also testified in response to one of my colleagues' questions about DNA evidence and how the science is excellent. Another frustration I've had as a litigator, as a criminal defense attorney, is that the scientific community is ignored over and over and over again when it comes to scientific evidence or forensic evidence that is admitted in court. They weigh in, it gets ignored, and as a matter of science, at least half of all wrongful convictions that relied on DNA testing are attributable to the misuse of forensic sciences during the investigation and the trial. Bite mark analysis, which I'm glad isn't being used before, but even the way that latent prints are being used, a lot of it is junk science. It's accepted as valid evidence in criminal cases, allowing experts to come in, but it isn't accepted by the larger scientific community. And so I think that's something that the NYPD needs to be much more responsible around before taking in that information, giving it to the DAs, and then selling it in a courtroom to a jury as though it is the gold standard when it absolutely is not.
Is that a question or just a statement? Okay.
I just want to ask one question. We're talking about exonerated, vacated, wrongful conviction. Can you just clarify the differences between those three?
So I'm sorry, exonerated, wrongful conviction, and I'm sorry, what else?
Exonerated, vacated, and wrongful convictions.
So vacated is the official mechanism by which the court dismisses of the case from the record. A wrongful conviction is a term of art that I think means a lot of different things to a lot of people. I don't think that you can't go to like Black's Law Dictionary and say this is what a wrongful conviction means. But a wrongful conviction could mean a lot of things, specifically we no longer have credibility and faith in the case that was initially done due to a bunch of reasons. Either new evidence came up, a witness recanted, because by the way, for the record, often, I'm not gonna say often because I don't have the numbers, but it is possible that there's a wrongful conviction through no misconduct of NYPD. I hate that that does happen, right? You can have witnesses that make mistakes, like that does happen. But long story short, it's the DA has lost faith or there was contrary evidence that was presented, so as a result, within the conviction itself was improper, wrongful conviction. Exonerated, I don't know, these things kind of Venn diagram a little bit, but exonerated basically means we have good faith that you didn't do it, that it didn't happen. Right, there's a difference between we don't have faith in the evidence and we affirmatively don't think you did it. Right, and does anybody else want to weigh in on that? See if I got it. I think that's a layperson's way of describing that, because it's not like they're literally defined, I hope at least.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate the fact that the one thing I wanted to really extrapolate was that it's not always on the NYPD. Right. It could be on the DA, it could be on the witness, it could be on anybody who came in. So it's not always on the NYPD. And the NYPD always, or maybe most times, works with the district attorney's office when these cases do come up for exoneration, vacation, or being vacated or wrongful conviction, and are standing beside the DAs when those announcements are made. So it is not the intention of the NYPD to arrest and convict the wrong person, because as the chair has stated, as my colleagues have stated, because that leaves the person who committed the crime on the street, and that's not what you do. It is your job to put away bad actors, and we appreciate you for doing that. And we're sorry that you were attacked at some points today, but I'm so proud that you had all the answers, the right answers, and I'm so glad to see how far the NYPD has come to make sure that these types of incidences do not happen at such a frequency anymore. Thank you.
I got to tell you, I'm definitely very, very inspired by the work that the NYPD is describing today. You know, it offers us a way forward that perhaps in the past would not be possible. I'm wondering though, I'm thinking about some of the recommendations that have been passed down from the National Commission on Forensic Science. You know, they recommended that the DOJ labs post their policies, procedures, and all three Department of Justice crime laboratories, the DEA, the ATF, the FBI, have subsequently published their quality management systems online. And I was wondering if the NYPD is willing to do so.
Well, we already turned over our SOPs, our standard operating procedures, our quality management procedures. We turned that over to the district attorney's offices. It's part of discovery. So if I needed to find that information on a case or anything like that, the actual procedures, they can get it. We turned that over as part of discovery. It's readily available. Similarly, with respect to reviews of our forensic evidence, we are accredited labs. Our labs, our NYPD lab is an accredited lab. We work hand in hand with ANAB, our accrediting body that certifies our main lab, as well as our latent print section, as well as our crime scene unit. We are accredited. We report to the New York State Forensic Commission. They review our work, and that's public record. So if there was a criticism of a science, such as latent prints, or for that matter, any other procedure the NYPD uses, it gets reviewed, and parts and parcel are their standard operating procedures. They're readily available pursuant to discovery.
Well, the reason why I'm asking that specifically is I know that we spoke earlier and heard testimony that it's actually turned over, but I'm thinking about the difference between that and actually having that published online itself.
I definitely think that's something we can take into consideration and possibly recommend it and consider that. If we're able to do that in terms of technology, then it's something we'll definitely consider.
I think it'd be really, really helpful, especially because we're the You know, as been said by our mayor, we're the greatest city in the world. We have the greatest police department in the world. And to make sure that we really keep those same high standards. You know, I'm thinking about myself as it related to the criminal justice system. And in the past, I was told that I was going to be seen as being innocent until proven guilty. And the worst part about my case, although this wasn't the fault, as has been described as other council members, of the police department themselves, but it was a, so to speak, trifecta of what the police department investigated, what the media reported, and then ultimately what the DA began to prosecute. And I gotta tell you, the most hate, and I'm gonna use that word specifically, it was vitriol, that I particularly experienced was not from the department, the police department, but it was from the media then, and most certainly from the DA's office as they prosecuted us. You know, and so I applaud the efforts that we are trying to make sure that we get it right, that we fix things that could be problematic, so that folks don't go to prison for crimes that they didn't commit. You know, and as we look at all of the testimony and recommendations, I think one of the best things that I've heard today, although I know we are not necessarily there yet, is that we're relying on a lot of the technological advances to move the needle. And I think about that because we really need to make sure in 2024 and beyond that we make the process easier. Easier for you all because there's so much work that needs to be done. We don't want folks to be committing crime, you know, but easier also to make sure that the integrity of the systems that we are representing are there. So I want to say thank you. Thank you for being here today, for staying. Thank you for this part of the program. We are going to close this part, and then we're going to open it up to the public as well. We hope that you all stick around to listen to what the public has to say, and thank you.
Thank you for your time, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we will now turn to the public testimony. We will only be allowing testimony that is on the topic. Thank you. I'm passing this back to Sir.
Thank you so much, Chair. So we're going to begin public testimony. If you want to testify, please sign up at the back of the room with the Sergeant at Arms. First, we're going to hear from Sergio DePava from the New York County Defender Service. Okay. First, we're going to hear from Sergio DePava from the New York County Defender Service, followed by Bruce Bryan. So if you two want to come up to this podium, and then we're going to just continue calling folks from there. He's not coming. Okay. Bruce Bryan, followed by Jackie Gostijan, Sarah Chu, Cassandra Kelly. But I think that if anyone was remind them to stay on topic. So that's all. I'm sorry. Yeah, why is she so rude and disrespectful? Like that's beyond the pale. I understand that, but like. For folks who are up here, just whatever order, I guess
ladies first.
Ladies first, whoever wants to go first, or we're all going to get a chance.
You want me to start? All right, are we still morning? Okay, officially afternoon. Good afternoon, my name is Jackie Gustigian. I am Supervising Policy Counsel with Brooklyn Defender Services. I've been a public defender for over 15 years, and I want to thank the council and Chair Salam. It's an honor to be before you, and we look forward to working with you and the rest of the council. As public defenders, we see every day how the NYPD's practices do not appropriately protect New Yorkers from wrongful conviction. In our written testimony, we highlight many concerns about NYPD policies as they relate to evidence, forensic science, interrogation, racial profiling. However, in my limited time, I will highlight a few key points. Timely access to discovery is critical in preventing wrongful convictions. Much of the information from discovery comes from law enforcement, and New York enacted comprehensive discovery reforms in 2019. However, even though NYPD has spent millions of dollars on document and case management systems, data collection and storage products, and partnered with companies like Microsoft and IBM to build systems to share collected data, including police reports, body-worn camera, videos, and other digitally collected evidence, turnover discovery continues to be inexcusably delayed. You heard NYPD say that everything is electronic and that DAs have access, but then when questioned further by Councilmember Caban, they admitted that in fact DAs do not have direct access to their finest system. It's simply not true. I want to point to a recent court decision from the Bronx in September of last year. The court in that case characterized NYPD's refusal to turn over discovery to DAs as akin to NYPD holding discovery as ransom, and the judge said that that NYPD is requiring DAs to, quote, jump through a series of NYPD-crafted hoops to receive discovery. That is what's really going on. NYPD's data systems are designed to make the collection and sharing of information quick, straightforward, and simple, and yet NYPD's fundamental lack of transparency and failure to turn over to their records to the district attorneys continues to prevent someone accused of a crime from seeing their evidence. We call on the City Council to investigate NYPD's lack of transparency and delays in providing access to records, documents, data, and video content. And I'll sum up after this last point. Errors in forensic analysis are one of the leading factors in wrongful convictions. You heard Councilmember Caban talk about the latent print scandal from 2015. Additionally, there was a serious scandal involving OCME, where a supervisor conducted the analysis for 2 junior analysts on a large number of DNA cases. He did the actual work and then signed off for the junior analysts, setting this up for a process where everyone involved would have in fact been perjuring themselves. We call on the council to demand a full-scale audit of the latent fingerprint lab and of the OCME. Similarly, in Houston and DC, this full-scale independent investigation was done. We believe that it's time for New York to do something similar. And I'll end by just saying that we look forward to the opportunity to continue to work with the council to prevent wrongful convictions, to ensure that those wrapped up in the criminal legal system have free access to zealous representation, and to invest in our communities instead of police them. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Cassandra Kelly, and I've worked as a public defender for over a decade. I'm currently a policy attorney with the criminal defense practice at the Legal Aid Society. On behalf of the Legal Aid Society, thank you for the opportunity to testify today about our concerns with NYPD practices and policies that increase the risk of wrongful convictions. We've submitted written testimony that goes into greater detail about our concerns and our proposed solutions to address them, but I'll briefly address them here. Every case we take on in our criminal and juvenile practices at the Legal Aid Society begins with a police encounter with a fellow New Yorker. That initial encounter and the ensuing arrest, investigation, plea offers, hearings, and trial stem from the first moment an officer approaches a neighbor, a father, a mother, a son, a daughter, and a colleague and a friend. Too often, police are acting as first responders in situations that stem from a moment arising from a mental health crisis or from drug use or simply lack of safe shelter. Too often, the police are using their widespread and robustly funded surveillance technology to sweep our young people into their precincts for interrogation and at the threat of arrest. Too often, it is officer misconduct and abuse that results in the apprehension and prosecution of innocent New Yorkers. And too often, once this person has been arrested and charged, the police do not share all the evidence they collect during the investigation process with prosecutors, which impedes defense attorneys from conducting a thorough investigation and evaluating the charges levied. Despite the billions of dollars allocated each year to the NYPD, despite the ubiquitous surveillance and technology that is touted by the NYPD, prosecutors claim that they are unable to expeditiously obtain discovery on criminal cases because of their inability to obtain it from NYPD. Meanwhile, when it serves the interests of the NYPD, these same hard-to-get materials, body-worn camera footage, surveillance video, images of evidence will be posted on NYPD's social media feeds or released to the press almost immediately. In case after case at the Legal Aid Society, we don't receive basic pieces of evidence like memo books, witness statements, body-worn cameras, 911 calls, and police disciplinary records for months and sometimes years after an arrest. We cross-examine officers and expose their lies in court, but see no disciplinary outcomes. As public defenders, we have long recognized the problem of unchecked police power and see how it devastates whole communities, disrupting and destroying lives. We know another way is possible. We must force reform to rein in the misconduct that too often leads to wrongful convictions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your testimony.
Hi, Chair Salam, council members. Thank you so much for holding this hearing and for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Dr. Sarah Chu. I'm the Director of Policy and Reform at the Perlmutter Center for Legal Justice at Cardozo Law School. Prior to my current position, I spent 15 years building the Forensic Science Policy program at the Innocence Project. And Chair Salam, we have been deeply enriched by your leadership on the board there. So I wanted to take my time in the oral testimony to offer some ideas in response to what Mr. Fenton said about NYPD's response to forensic science issues. As Chair Salam aptly pointed out, that posting quality management documents, your policies and procedures for forensic testing, it's something that the FBI, the DEA, the ATF does. It is a recommendation by the National Commission on Forensic Science. It's no longer a best practice, it's a basic expectation. And I really think that this is something that we should extend to NYPD. The New York City Council passed local laws 85 and 86 in 2013 to require this of OCME in their DNA testing. And so I don't see why the rest of our forensic testing provided in the city shouldn't also adhere to the same rules of transparency as well as the root cause analysis recommendation law that was passed in 2013. Mr. Fenton mentioned that, that NYPD adheres to the requirements of accreditation and forensic science oversight by the state. And I would say yes, and we can do better. And do you know why I know we can do better? Because they do it better in Texas. So in Texas, all labs are required to be accredited. And when something happens, when something goes wrong, it's called a significant event, that it gets sent up to the commission where the commission can transparently evaluate it, investigate it if needed, and report on it to the public. We do have a commission in New York State, but it's not statutorily empowered to conduct investigations in the same way. And so I think that for us to really have justice in forensics, that we need systems of repair. Repair is a theory that looks at what happens, how a system responds when an error is made, when there's a breakdown. Your values as an institution come out in how you fix a problem. And so to do that, I hope that the City Council could consider extending those local laws 85 and 86 from 2013 to NYPD and establish some system of duty to correct and notify. So the duty to correct when something goes wrong and the duty to notify all impacted people. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony as well.
Good morning, Chairperson Salam, members of the Committee on Public Safety. My name is Bruce Bryan, and I'm a client advocate at the Queens Defenders. Prior to this role, I was wrongfully convicted and served 29 years in New York State prisons. And I just thank you for the opportunity to speak today. But before I begin, I wish to commend the New York City Council for overriding Mayor Adams' veto on the How Many Stops Act. Your leadership on this issue is an important step toward protecting our city's marginalized communities from over-policing and abuse by law enforcement authorities. I'm here today to offer my story as an example of how nefarious tactics in the police investigations do not serve public safety. They only create wrongful convictions and an adverse relationship between the police and the community. The Innocence Project has notes that Black people account for 40% of approximately 2.3 million incarcerated people in the United States and nearly 50% of exonerees, despite making up just 13% of the United States population. This is in large part because they are policed more heavily, often presumed guilty, and frequently denied a fair shot at justice from the time of arrest ongoing. My story in wrongful incarceration for nearly 30 years echoes these statistics. My life could have and should have had a different outcome, and I am calling on the New York City Council to take action to prevent the practice of NYPD officers being given carte blanche to lie, to manipulate, and deceive people who they are interviewing. When I was 23 years old, I was arrested and charged with a murder that I did not commit. There were multiple things that the NYPD did during that arrest and investigation that contributed to my wrongful conviction. When I was arrested, I was represented by counsel who specifically invoked my Sixth Amendment rights. Despite this, I was still placed in an in-person lineup without my attorney being notified or present to protect my rights. As a result of that lineup, I was misidentified as the perpetrator in charge, beginning a 29-year nightmare that finally ended when I received executive clemency from Governor Kathy Hochul last year. In my case, the death of a young person occurred because of a drug-related shootout. This involved multiple parties firing numerous shots. I was not one of the shooters and never possessed a gun that day. Despite this, the NYPD only collected 2 shell casings that were used to incriminate me. There's no doubt in my mind that this was an intentional and selective act by the investigators who were intent on pinning this crime on someone. Further, 2 of the people who identified me had an extensive criminal background. They were compensated by the NYPD to make identification, and there was never a credible or reliable witness in my case. In fact, they had strong motivation to please law enforcement by telling them what they wanted to hear. Now that I've had this experience, I am horrified to see so many other young Black and brown people having their rights violated during police investigations, and tragically and irrevocably interrupted through wrongful incarceration. On the state level, we are seeing momentum with the Challenging Wrongful Conviction Act and the Right to Silence Act, which guarantees legal counsel to juveniles. Here in New York City, we can and must enact meaningful legislation to ensure that another life is not lost to a wrongful conviction and protect the rights and lives of Black and brown residents who are so often victims of deceitful and nefarious police tactics. Today, I am working as a client advocate at Queens Defenders, leading innovative youth programming for our young court-involved clients that helps them make better life decisions and pursue meaningful and engaging educational career goals. We also work to ensure that young people are made aware of their rights under the 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendments and understand how to have safe interactions with the police. Programs like ours can only achieve so much without legislative action that provides police accountability and protects against the absolute injustice of incarceration for a wrongful conviction. I can only hope that we can collectively work together to protect the next generation to make sure our system is fair for everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your testimony and welcome home.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you all for your testimony. Appreciate it. And again, anyone can submit written testimony to testimony@council.nyc.gov as well. So next panel, we'll hear from Sergio Del Palva, Ingrid Jean Baptiste, and Beth Schwartz. You may begin, Sergio, or?
sorry. And I've been a public defender in this city for approximately 30 years. Now, this hearing is rightly about our immediate present and one hopes our immediate future, but I do want to shift the focus a little bit to a reckoning with our past. And what I mean by that is a lot of the reforms that have come up during this hearing are laudable ones, certainly beginning with discovery reform, the granddaddy of all of this, but including things like videotaping confessions and the use of double-blind principles in identification procedures, and of course, body cam footage. All these things, it's important to remember that these are all very recent developments in our system. Even discovery reform is not even has its 50th anniversary yet, and these other things that we're talking about are even more recent and even younger practices than that. So when I say taking us back to the past, I want you to think about the decades of convictions that were secured in the absence of discovery, in the absence of interrogations being recorded, in the absence of body cam footage and surveillance footage, things like cell site that could have established people's innocence. Those are decades of convictions. I think we can conclude with a moral certainty that a significant percentage of those were wrongful convictions. I think we can conclude with a moral certainty, unfortunately, that a great many people right now, as we conduct this hearing, are rotting in prisons, our prisons, for crimes they did not commit. Now, our office has been one of the driving forces behind something called the Challenging Wrongful Convictions Act, because in addition to the decades of really scary types of convictions, New York happens to have one of the most abysmal statutory schemes for addressing wrongful convictions. One, a scheme that our highest court has said does not recognize innocence as a basis for relief, a statutory scheme that does not give those working to challenge their wrongful convictions the access to an attorney or the discovery. Challenging Wrongful Convictions Act would address all of that. This council last year created a resolution, 479 of 2023, urging the New York State Legislature to pass and the governor to sign the Challenging Wrongful Convictions Act. Unfortunately, perhaps in a bit of complacency or overconfidence, because it did pass both houses last year, that resolution was never passed. So I'm calling on this body to resurrect that resolution, to put pressure to the extent we can on Albany. As I said, it passed both houses, and the governor ultimately gave in to fear-mongering at the last minute and vetoed it. I think this is the year that we need to not just do what this hearing is doing, which is think about our future and how we can avoid wrongful convictions, but this is the year New York really has to get serious about addressing its wrongful conviction problem. Remember, third in the nation in wrongful convictions. So this is the year that New York County Defender Services and myself and we hope this council can get serious about addressing this moral injustice. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Hi, my name is Beth. Oh, I don't know what I'm doing. Hi, my name is Beth Schwartz. I'm going to be changing the subject from what most of this hearing has been about. I have lived in Manhattan for all but 10 of my years of my life, and I raised my visibly Jewish family on the Upper West Side. My husband and son wear a yarmulke, and we have never felt unsafe here as Jews until October 7th, when Hamas terrorists viciously murdered over 1,200 Jews on the holy Jewish holiday of Simchat Torah, perpetrating the worst violence on Jews since the Holocaust. Since that day, New York City has been subjected. Excuse me?
We have to keep on topic for the hearing today.
Well, it's about safety. We were told we could, yeah, okay, Mr. Holden says we can. Okay, so this is about safety. It's not specifically, I need to set up what the problem is. Since that day, New York City has been subjected to constant aggressive and threatening protests by anti-Jewish protesters. They chant slogans that call for the destruction of Israel, the world's only Jewish state. They chant for globalized violence against Jews. They destroy property and aggressively approach people who are visibly Jewish. Just last night, there was one of these aggressive protests at the 92nd Street Y for the sin of hosting Barry Weiss, a Jew who, like over 90% of all Jews, believe that Israel has the right to exist. The protesters were chanting, "Murder Barry Weiss," and called Jerry Seinfeld, a known Jew, a Nazi as he left the building. These protests have created a feeling of lawlessness on the streets, and it feels like it's open season for the Jews in my neighborhood on the Upper West Side. Last week, I saw a group of high school girls yelling "Free Palestine" and an older man wearing a yarmulke. I recently heard from a friend's daughter that she was walking home with her roommates on a Friday night from a Shabbat dinner, and a man in a mask followed behind them yelling "Free Palestine" for 10 blocks until they arrived at their building. I see posters of kidnapped Jews being torn down every day. Jews should not be harassed or worse on the streets of New York City. These illegal protests need to be shut down, and people who do not follow the law need to be arrested. The city needs to stop giving these Jew haters a free pass. I'm calling on the City Council to please make sure that the New York Police Department enforce laws at these protests to ensure public safety.
Thank you for your testimony. And I'd just like to remind the public that we have to stay on topic with regards to wrongful convictions.
Okay, thank you so much. We're going to continue through the folks who have signed up. We're going to be going through names alphabetically as well here to try to ease things. Yeah. Okay. Okay, thank you. We're going to take testimony from folks in person and on Zoom, so wait to hear your name. We're here from Andrew, followed by Deborah Block. If you're in person, please come up. Okay. And then followed by Neil Berry, who will be joining us on Zoom. So Neil, if you're available on Zoom, please be ready to go after these folks.
Yo, go.
Who are you? Can you identify yourself?
Yeah, my name is Christopher Leon Johnson. He said, open anybody come up, right?
No, I think there was.
But I don't think they're here. I mean.
Andrew and Deborah Block, if you are available, can you please come testify?
Oh, sorry about that.
Andrew and Deborah Block, if you are not here, we're going to move on to the next folks. Neil Berry on Zoom, are you present? Andrew's here. Okay, I'm sorry, Andrew. Andrew will go to you, followed by Neil on Zoom. Sorry about that, Andrew.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, no problem. Thank you.
You may begin, sir.
Okay.
Just press the button to make sure people can hear.
Is that good now? Can you hear me? First, I want to apologize for what happened to you and your family members by being wrongly accused, so I first like to apologize for that. I would like to talk about the NYPD because the NYPD talks about how they like to assist people who are wrongly convicted. Now, I've been terrorized by a couple of people in law enforcement for years. In Chicago, I was assaulted. In New York, I was assaulted. And for some reason, in both states, they don't want to give the police report or the body cams once when they assault me. I applied for it, and they keep denying me the body cams and police reports, which shows that they're trying to hide something in two different states, New York and Chicago. So that's why I want to ask for an investigation because I'm being terrorized every day. And when people being terrorized, like Kim Groves, she had filed a complaint against the police. The police had her executed for filing a complaint against them. So I too might be executed by police because they like to execute people for no reason at all. This guy named Philando Castle was executed. According to the New York Times, he was followed around by law enforcement for 13 years and they executed him. So I'm asking for an investigation because police, they like to terrorize people, they like to do bad things, and since I take pictures of them following me around, since 2013, I lost every job I ever had, every job I ever had since 2013, and that job I had in 2013, I held over 10 years. But after that, I lost every job since I take pictures of the criminals that's following me around. These are corrupt people in law enforcement. So I'm asking for an investigation to go on because, you know, because I feel that they're gonna murder me too, like they did to Philando Castle and Kim Groves.
Thank you for your testimony.
Sure. And can you give me the defense lawyer name? She was saying that the people were only convicted and they were evicted from their homes. She was like a defense lawyer.
You might be referring to Councilmember Caban, if that's who you're. Councilmember Caban is the former defense.
Because it's hard to understand you with the mask.
Councilmember Caban.
Okay.
Councilmember Caban. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Neil Berry.
Good afternoon, I should say. Yes, I just want to thank the council, city council, and Youssef and a few others that have done some advocating. I'm part of Vocal Voices of Community Activists and Leaders. I was directly impacted by mass incarceration. Yeah, a lot of things were said that I don't want to repeat. I don't believe in evaluating repeated things around racial recognition and racial profiling. It's a very racial system, you know, the history, but there's nothing new. And to say that those didn't happen before 1988 or 1980 was an embarrassment for all the people who were sitting up there doing time, because what Sergio said, these processes and these procedures were not there. In 1988, I was arrested in Brownsville by 4 white officers. I was accused of felony robbery with a gun. I had never had a prior history. I worked in Wall Street 12 years. I was 33 years old at the time. I never had a record. I had moved to college. I had succeeded on Wall Street. By the time, in 1988, when that happened, 4 white officers told me I deserved what I got, just based on my background. I was one of them niggers that was uppity, according to them. And that's what they categorized me, from the process of getting me arrested to the process of getting me to bail. They set a high bail, which I was unable to make. I had a mother and father who just discarded the fact that they were family orientated, but any contact with the law, because they were military and Catholic, decided not to support me. I lost my family, I lost my apartment, I lost my car, my girlfriend. So my trajectory changed from zero, once I got incarcerated. I was traumatized for a period of 20 years. I suffered alcoholism, homelessness, and many other, integrity-wise. These officers never even attempted doing an investigation. These officers were promoted. I went to trial with one witness who was a material witness who was a drug user, and I didn't blame him. He was a material witness. I mean, he had to come to court. He came to court on the last day of testimony from the defense.
Time expired.
And I was guilty on a repugnant sentence, and that repugnant sentence could have been reversed by that judge, but at the recommendations of the police officer and the DA, I ended up serving time. So I know these institution systems can do better, but don't talk about the people who have been wrongfully convicted years and years ago. I'm fighting Wrongful Conviction Act in Albany. We just passed it twice. We're going to try to pass it this year, or once I should say. We need the governor to sign on, and let's right some wrong here. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you so much. Next, we're going to invite up Charles Bornskarer and TJ Cohen and Celeste Garson. If you are present, please feel free to come up. Afterwards, we'll turn to Tanisha Grant, who is on Zoom. So Tanisha, please be ready after these individuals speak. Thank you so much.
No, I'm not submitting, I'm just going to speak. Hi, my name is Celeste Garson. I'm here again to really talk about public safety and not feeling very safe right now in New York. I'll try to stay on the topic and be respectful. I work in the school system, so this is something that's very close to home to me. And I actually took time off to be here today, so I hope you'll give me a few moments to read my testimony. So as I mentioned, I've been feeling anxious and unsafe living in New York City. Since the Hamas barbaric attacks on Israel on October 7th, I've been shocked by some of the protests celebrating what happened, calling for genocide of Jews and expanding their movement as they feel empowered and not held accountable for their actions. I lived in New York City for 53 years and have never experienced this feeling before. I would ride the trains at night, walk around the city being proud of my religion, and now I'm conscious about who's around me and fearing another protest. I've often felt trapped in my car when I can't escape, when there's a protest in the area and bridges and different streets are shut down, where I'm trying to get my kid off the bus and I can't get home in time, or when I was downtown Sunday night leaving an event and all I could hear is loud drumming and chanting from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. I can hear it from blocks away because it was so loud. My friend encountered the crowd with her 2 young children and they were petrified.
I'm sorry, but we have to stay on topic for wrongful convictions.
Okay.
I know you're talking about public safety, but this is a hearing on wrongful convictions.
Okay, well,
Mr. Chairman, the gentleman heretofore who spoke prior to this panel spoke about him being murdered and executed and whatnot and got his full 2 minutes, and certainly wasn't the topic of the day. And I just want to point that out, Mr. Chair.
No, understood, definitely. I know you said public safety, and I understand exactly what.
Yeah, so I'm not feeling safe in New York. Can I continue, or? Okay. So I remember being in panic after seeing footage of a pro-Palestinian rally at Columbus Circle where they were chanting, storming the building, and viciously cutting down the kidnap signs with knives. And I saw an image of an older man who was slashed on the face. All I could think about is my mother, who I knew was in the area at the time. And when I got in touch with her, she said she just got out and was let out the back door of the Time Warner building. I witnessed the aftermath of a protest that led up to the mayor's mansion, where again kidnap signs were ripped down, where spray paints in front of the mayor's mansion about free Gaza right in front of the police officers with no respect of consequences. Plastered stickers everywhere saying Israel is committing genocide in Gaza, and Zionist donors and trustees hands off our universities. As we know, Zion, using Zionist in that term is blatantly anti-Semitic. If I can quote by Martin Luther King, he said, "When people criticize Zionists, they mean Jews. You are talking about anti-Semitism." My friend who lives in Westchester won't even visit me anymore in New York City because she fears these protests. I even was on the phone this week with my insurance company, and the representative said that she was planning on coming to New York City for the holidays, as she does every year, but this year they canceled because they see on social media and in the news these violent protests going on, and they don't feel safe anymore in New York City. I can't even escape it. I walked by a closed restaurant storefront the other day, and spray painted in red was "Free Palestine" across the window. Enough is enough already. We need to empower the police to enforce the law and not empower protesters who break the law by not having permits, obstructing traffic, and inciting violence and hate. We need to protect all citizens, Jews and non-Jews alike, from violence and disruptive behavior impinging on the rights of others. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. I just want to encourage that this is a hearing on wrongful convictions. And while we do recognize the terrible things that are going on in the world, this hearing in particular is about wrongful convictions. If we can stay on topic, that'll be perfect. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. I think your name is appropriate, as I've watched this
proceeding for the last 3 hours. As I know it, salam, shalom, all mean peace. And you've proceeded over this committee with just that aspect. I hope you won't call me out of order or being off topic, because ultimately what I will quickly say comes back to everything that people were talking about today. That is wrongful convictions and misinformation about judgments in cases in courts. I'd like to speak about President Nixon. In the war in Israel in 1973, the Israelis asked for 3 helicopters. It was brought to President Nixon by Henry Kissinger. Henry Kissinger said the Israelis need 3 helicopters. And Nixon said, how many do we have? Kissinger said, we have 52. And Nixon said, send them the 52. And Kissinger said, well, why, Mr. President? They only asked for 3. Nixon explained that Israel was the line in the sand between democracy and autocracy and despotism that it was represented from the East. That when I read the Nixon transcripts, there were a lot of unpleasant descriptions of Jews and people he was dealing with. Yet he gave the helicopters to Israel to win the war. Maybe he didn't love Israel so much, but he loved America. And he knew the line in Israel was the difference between freedom and despotism that was threatening the world at the time. That issue has still never been resolved. There are incursions to Israel from Russia, from Persia, from every country that has some influence in supplying materials to go against Israel. I just wanted to say in these protests, they seem not to have the true background of what is really at issue and what the cause of the United States brotherhood with Israel is.
So
when they go against Israel, they go against the United States. The United States and Israel are united in the idea of keeping a line of democracy and protection for the Western world.
Sir,
I don't have to...
While
Yes.
I appreciate this lesson in history, this is about wrongful convictions.
Well, so is this. Look at the convictions that they're causing and blaming the Jews for.
If you're able to, I guess, sum up in terms of time.
Okay, I will be happy to. Thank you, sir. I would say that Martin Luther King said, no lie shall live forever. The things that are being told and propagated against the Jews in these rallies are all lies, all. The idea of, again, Martin Luther King, who said, truth crushed to earth will rise again, meaning you can't hold down the truth. And eventually the things will come up that have been the basis of these rallies that are anti-American in the sense that it is forging a great controversy between Israel and America and the importance of this union. Finally, I'll say the last thing that I learned from Martin Luther King was the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. Well, it can't be much longer. People are being killed, people have been killed, and it's time for that arc of the moral universe to reflect the truth. As far as I've been in the Jewish community, which hasn't been all that long actively, in fact, this is the first time I've ever spoken on behalf of the Jewish community, I would say that Jews' aim was never to humiliate the Islamic world, but to win its freedom and understanding.
Thank you for Thank you for your testimony. Just like to remind the public that this is a hearing on wrongful convictions and that we have a time in. We want to make sure that the public stays on topic.
We have in New York if there weren't in Israel.
And we maintain decorum in the
Sick of giving my tax money to Israel, man.
Yikes.
Get enough killing Palestinian children.
So we have a 2-minute time limit for testimony, and the testimony is specifically dealing with wrongful convictions. I just want to remind the public that we have to stay on topic.
Thank you, Chair. Next, we'll turn to Tanisha Grant, who's on Zoom. Tanisha, I'll unmute you in just a second.
Hello. Thank you, Chair Salim, and to the Public Safety Committee for having this important meeting. So, hello, my name is Tanisha Grant, and I am the Executive Director of Parents Supporting Parents New York and Moms United for Black Lives New York City. As a community-based organizer and advocate for criminal justice reform, too often people in our communities are wrongly convicted. It still happens way too much in 2024. I speak on behalf of all community members, including our youth, who have been impacted by wrongful conviction. Too often, our Black and brown communities are presumed guilty until proven innocent, when it is supposed to be the other way around. NYPD officers often lie and are very insidious when handling police work in our community. We need our great city council to create legislation to protect our community members. The way things are now in 2024, the police have more protection than the public they serve. When people are wrongly convicted due to lies and evidence provided by police, there is no accountability. People are spending lifetimes in prison while being innocent. I look forward to our city council working with the communities to stop wrongful convictions. It is not enough what is being done today. The fact that New York City is third in the nation on wrongful convictions in 2024 tells us NYPD and the whole criminal justice system has a very long way to go. We also urge the Public Safety Committee to support the Wrongful Conviction Act that we have in Albany. Thank you for listening to my testimony, and we look forward to working with you to make sure that all wrongful convictions are stopped. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you so much. Next, we'll hear from, and I apologize if I've called your name already, but next we'll hear from Celeste Garson, followed by Susan Gottlieb, followed by Marilyn Gutolu. So if I repeated you, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, sorry, Celeste. Okay, I lost track of that one. So Susan Gottlieb, Madeline Madden, Gattolio, Jan, if you are present as well, and then Christopher Leon Johnson. Thank you, everyone.
And I'd just like to remind the public that this is about wrongful convictions and the NYPD, so that we can stay on topic, and we have 2 minutes. Thank you. I'm sorry, press the button. As soon as you see the red light, then your microphone is hot. It's live.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. All right. I'm Susan Gottlieb. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to speak. New York City citizen. And I've come to express my fear about the safety. This is a Public Safety Committee meeting about the safety of the Jewish people and emphasize the importance of the New York City Police.
This is a wrongful conviction meeting about the wrongful convictions and NYPD.
New York City anti-Semitic attacks, attacks spiked 214% in October after the vicious attacks in Israel and continue to be significantly higher than in previous years. They are nearly double the amount at this time than they were this time last year, and the fear felt by members of the Jewish community in the city are palpable. Many are afraid to wear Jewish stars, symbols, or clothing which expose our faith. On Martin Luther King Day, of all days, there was a huge angry crowd. Anti-Israel demonstrators marched throughout my neighborhood calling for genocide of the Jews and intifada, which is violent uprising. It felt like we were in Germany in 1938 instead of New York City in 2024. My neighbors were terrified. We were all terrified of the threat of violence, and we were pained that our children would be hearing hateful chants and vicious, absolute lies towards our own people by calling Israel an apartheid state that is committing genocide, while it is in reality a democratic country defending itself in a war that it didn't start. This is not an issue of free speech. It's anti-Semitic propaganda, intimidation, and threat against a minority group. And these anti-Israel demonstrations lead to anger, which can incite more physical violence and hate crimes against Jews in our cities. The demonstrators are also endangering the city by blocking traffic, bridges, and airports, and the lawless behavior could be deadly as it prevents first responders and people in crisis getting where they need to go.
Thank you for your
To
testimony.
address the
The time is
problem
up.
of violent anti-minority crime and disruptions to critical city infrastructures by agitators, it is crucial to empower the New York City Police Department with the necessary tools, resources, and authority to stop them. The NYPD needs more authority during this time of crisis, not less. Offenders need to be arrested and held accountable. If someone breaks the law, they need to be arrested and stay in jail. Council members, please provide oversight through police activity and strengthening laws
I'm sorry,
to
the time
ensure
is
the
up.
safety and well-being of all our
We have
residents.
to move to the next testimony. Thank you. Shalom.
My name is Jan. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. It is heartwarming to
Oh, I'm sorry. Press the red button so that.
My name is Jan. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. It's heartwarming to hear about the progress that's been made in preventing unjust arrest and unjust conviction. However, some of the agreements and rules and changes in policy towards police practice and DA practice have resulted in more crime. And as you so skillfully and convincingly said, Mr. Salam, convicting people who really do crimes and preventing crime is the other side of keeping people who are wrongfully convicted not convicted. I ask of the committee members at this time of threat to the Jewish community to pursue and protect public safety. Allow the NYPD to enforce existing laws. Enough is enough. There have to be consequences for breaking the law. The laws needing to be enforced include, but are not limited to, bias incident laws, hate crime and hate speech laws, public nuisance laws, civil disorder, inciting others to riot laws, harassment and verbal abuse laws, Supreme Court exceptions to the First Amendment, including but not limited to speech that constitutes unlawful incitement, true threats, intimidation, or discriminatory harassment, felony charges for blocking emergency services, domestic terrorist charges for impeding access to emergency services, Anti-Terrorism Act 18, U.S. Code 2339B, providing material support or resources to a foreign terrorist organization, including suspension of commerce, endangering motorists, and kidnapping in a car that can't move, and verbal or physical assaults. I ask you to support overturning agreements and policies that stop the NYPD from doing their job of protecting minority communities.
Thank you for your testimony.
Hello, my name is Christopher Leon Johnson, and Mr. Chair Salam, you should be ashamed of yourself for trying to censor all the Jewish people for making their grievances about the war on Palestine, which we need a ceasefire, and we have to support Israel. We have to support Zionism. So shame on you as the chair of the Public Safety Committee for censoring the Jewish voices in this panel hearing while wait.
Just for the record, I want to say that I'm not censoring our Jewish brothers or sisters. I actually recognize them. Shalom Aleichem. And I thank you for your testimony. The only thing that I'm saying is that this hearing right now, this hearing in particular, is about wrongful convictions. I was wrongfully convicted.
Yeah, everybody knows that.
So we're talking about wrongful convictions and the NYPD and the process and the practices that lead to wrongful convictions.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what I was saying about that. But why you get the other guy who was saying some nonsense? That's a different thing. Some nonsense about being attacked by cops. That's whatever. But you need to let your Jewish people speak. Okay. Now going to this about you, Mr. Salam. You know, it was sad that you lied on that cop. You know, you say you got lied on and you did time in prison for a crime you didn't commit. Now you lied on a cop in Harlem, saying that he said ABCD, which wasn't true, and everybody gonna talk about the 80s. Now, what happened if in the 80s you did that same thing, you was a council member and you leveraged your rank and you did that? I'm a councilman and you leveraged your rank and that cop got arrested for doing it. Yeah, you lied on the guy. You could have gotten arrested for that lie and he got convicted for that lie. Now, my question is why you did that? Why you allowed the cop to try to push a stupid agenda called Hominy Stop Sack? And you said that Hominy Stop Sack would have saved your butt from being so-called wrongfully convicted of your crime. That's ridiculous. It's bullcrap, bro.
You know, I don't appreciate being personally attacked, but thank you for your testimony.
No, wait.
His time is up, so thank you.
You gave him a lot of time to speak, and I'm going to say this right. No, you gave him a lot of time to speak, bro. Wait, you gave him a lot of time to speak. And I'm gonna say this one more time. Wait, before I go.
It's only 2
You
minutes.
need to resign as chair. You need to resign as chair of the Public Safety Committee. You need to resign, bro. You need to resign as chair. You need to give it to Kamala Hanks because
I don't appreciate the personal attacks.
No, there's
but
no
thank you for
personal
your
attacks,
time.
man.
Thank you
There's
for
no
your
personal
testimony.
attacks, man. You gave him no time to speak. Why you can't give me the time
What
to
you're
speak?
seeing, and I just want to say this for you to understand.
Yeah.
There is something called Biniso, Jiriso, Boloso, Sodai.
What the hell is that?
It means that when you see something, like I'm looking at you,
Yeah.
and obviously anyone would look at you and say, this is a black man.
Yeah, you're a black man too.
What I'm saying to you is, we're talking about wrongful convictions and the NYPD. And I appreciate the fact that you also represent the Jewish faith.
I'm not a Jewish guy, but
Well,
I support the Jewish people. So
Okay, and I
unlike,
appreciate
unlike
that.
you, I mean,
What I'm saying to you is that I'm looking at you
Yeah.
from your front. I haven't looked at the side or the top or the bottom to understand more about what you're saying. You are talking about something that you saw from the front. You weren't there to see all of the other sides, nor did I provide testimony to that particular end. So while I appreciate what you're saying, I do not respect or condone you specifically trying to threaten me.
I never threatened you.
While we're talking about wrongful conviction.
I never threatened you, man. Like
So
now
thank
you're
you for
lying.
your
You're
testimony.
lying on the cop and you lied on me. This is the thing.
Thank you
Like
for
this
your
is the
testimony.
thing. That's why you need to resign as chair. You lied on that cop in Harlem.
Sergeant of
now you
Arms,
lied
can
on me
mute
on
his microphone.
camera.
Thank
Like so now that's why you need to resign, man.
Thank you so much. Next, we'll hear from Elder Mitre, Coral Mell, and Jerry Prawling. So that's Eldar Mitre, Coral Mell, and Jerry Prawling. Thank you so much, everyone. You may come up if I called your name. You may go ahead.
I could start?
Yes, you may.
Hey, how y'all doing? Condolences to the Jewish families and also to the Muslim families. I was wrongfully convicted on December 12th I was arrested illegally December 12th of 2012, the day before the Sandy Hook shooting. And I was found guilty for assault on a court officer. This happened at 346 Broadway, and when this happened at 346 Broadway, there were cameras within the vicinity of where the incident occurred. The cameras were not given to the DA. The NYPD never did a full investigation. Court officers just arrested me, charged me with assault. I was found guilty for assault, and I didn't even touch the officer. Now, there was video camera footage that would have exonerated me from that assault, but that video camera footage happened to be destroyed purposely. And till this day, I'm trying to seek justice pertaining to that incident. I've been currently fighting against the criminal justice system, NYPD, for a long time. And I've accumulated approximately 80, probably 90 cases. And I've beaten majority of these cases, you could say 85 of the cases I have beaten. Just recently, I was assaulted by an officer. I have video footage of this in the Bronx. I was also assaulted by officers trying to make complaints. My tooth was knocked out on February 13th of 2021. I believe 2020. I'm not seeing any justice pertaining to any incidents that I've gotten involved with law enforcement officers. And the panel here that was representing NYPD, they were giving you information that is not actually accurate. The internal affairs, they don't even investigate the cases that we bring towards them. CCRB, when you give them, when you make complaints through them,
Sir, we have to.
they would find blame on the officer, but they would forward it back to the commissioner, and the commissioner would get the final say-so, which means that the CCRB organization can't actually.
Sir, I would like to speak to you more about what you're saying, but we have to wrap it up. So we can be in contact with you. My office is here with us in the room, and we can definitely take more of your testimony so that we can assist you in helping you to find some type of recourse.
Okay. I just wanted to put well, I just found out the Internal Affairs Bureau, when I went to their actual building, I've made approximately 247 complaints. I haven't gotten a call back from the Internal Affairs Bureau for any of my complaints. They've been ignoring me, and I've been doing things the right way. I've been creating a paper trail. I've been also highlighting a lot of inconsistent behaviors on part of the NYPD, dealing with various different issues, with various different individuals that have gotten into confrontations with NYPD and who were arrested falsely by law enforcement officers.
So, sir, we are at time, and I would like to definitely
if I'm able
continue.
to possibly speak to you,
Absolutely, absolutely.
in another setting, it would definitely be appreciated. I don't know if I could get some help from you guys, but I'm asking for some help. I've been
No,
doing
you're
some great work.
you're in the right place to definitely put your grievances forward. We're talking about exactly what you're talking about, wrongful convictions and the practices that lead to that. And so we want to definitely talk to you more. But in the sake of time, we definitely have to move on.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, we'll hear from Carla Rabinowitz, who is online, followed by Sophie Sasson and Gadi Schmeider. And I apologize if I mispronounced that name. So Carla, I will activate you on Zoom. I see you're present. Just bear with me 1 second. You may begin.
I don't know. I don't know what it.
Carla, we could hear you. You may begin. Carla, if you're having technical difficulties, we could return back to you, but we could hear you and you're able to testify if you so choose.
No. I can't testify.
Okay, apologize. Okay, thank you. Next, Sophie Sasson, are you present in chambers? No. Gadi Schmeider, if you're present? Manapui Silverman? Betsy Smolar? Are either of you present? You may come up to testify. Thank you.
Just to reiterate the topic that we're on, wrongful convictions and the practices of the NYPD as it relates to that. And we have 2 minutes. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Monique Silverman, and I've never done this before, but it's been so fascinating to see what's going on here, to hear all the testimonies. And I really feel for all these people that have been wrongly convicted. It's just shocking. And I really would like to actually help out somehow with the freedom that you were talking about, the freedom organization that you have. I would really like to help out to see, to do some reforms, because we need reforms in all aspects of the court system, the police department. I mean, we need reforms, I feel. And anyway, look, I've been, I'm here I'm half Jewish, half Catholic, and I was putting up some signs, some hostage signs, and, people were yelling at me for, who were protesting, and I feel that that's outrageous in the sense that we're in a free world here. We're in a free country. This is one of the few free countries out there, freedom of speech. And I think that it should be protected at all costs. And I wouldn't do that to somebody who said free Palestine. They can do whatever they want. They can post signs all over the place, free Palestine. It's fine with me. I'm not going to go attack them, or I'm not going to even say anything about that. But to do that to people who are putting, bring our hostages back, I think is pretty outrageous, personally. And I think that we have to protect our freedom of speech at all costs. So whether it's, I just saw the movie, the Bob Marley movie, which was fantastic. I recommend it for everybody to see. And he has a message that we should, live in peace. And it's very important for us to live in peace and to not be at odds with each other. What's the purpose of being at odds? It doesn't make sense. We have to move forward as a unit in peace. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Hi. I'd like to begin by thanking you profusely for allowing me and others here today to speak with you and sharing our concerns for our beloved New York City. In the interest of public safety, I would very much appreciate a separate hearing to address the specific concerns raised by myself and others that have been a concern that have not been exactly on topic. My name is Betsy Smoller, and I've lived in Manhattan all of my adult life. I went to college here, and my husband and I chose to raise our 3 children here. Aside from learning to be a street-savvy New Yorker, I was never fearful, and nor were my children. Sadly, this has changed dramatically over the past few months, and we are afraid. My son, who's an alum of Cooper Union, was horrified, as we all were, by the recent situation where Jewish students were locked into the school library to keep them safe from anti-Jewish protesters. My 1-year-old grandson's daycare center is no longer taking the babies to the park because of threats made against Jewish babies. Is this our New York, our big diverse apple? I am so grateful for the police presence and attendance at protests around the city. And while we may not be able to readily eradicate and educate and eradicate hate, the police serve as a deterrent and help make us feel more secure. On behalf of my family, my community, and I imagine all decent citizens who love this city as I do, I beseech the City Council to empower the police to continue to be a presence, arrest perpetrators of hate and violence, and ensure that all New Yorkers feel safe. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Just want to remind the public that we are talking specifically about wrongful convictions and the practices that relate to that. And to your point, I think that has to be taken into consideration as well. If we are going to be talking about other things that are not necessarily on topic for this particular hearing, then we definitely want to make sure we provide space and opportunity for the voice of the Jewish community to be heard as it relates to the protections and safeties that have been raised in this particular hearing.
That would be wonderful. Thank you so much.
We would so appreciate that. That would be very valued. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Next, we'll hear from Jeanne Springer, followed by Abby Volkovich, and then finally we'll turn to Amanda Walwin, who is on Zoom. Yeah,
Yes,
you may
just
go
press the
ahead.
button to.
Okay, I'm
And if
ready.
I've-
It's just me. All right.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Chairperson Salam and council members. And I want to, I understand the topic is wrongful conviction, and I understand why that is so critical. But I truly feel, just as a New Yorker, that the pendulum has swung almost the wrong way, or the other way. We're so concerned about wrongful conviction that we're not convicting at all, especially when it comes to these protests. And I pulled together at least 35, 40 people this afternoon. And as you've seen, as we called the names, most of them have left because they couldn't wait all day. And that shows you that we are saying, New Yorkers are saying, enough is enough. Enough is enough of not being protected. Enough is enough of these criminals, these terrorists, these protests not being convicted, no consequences for crime. Because we're so concerned about wrongfully convicting, we're not convicting at all, especially when it comes to these protests. And as a result, public safety, I don't feel there is such a thing as public safety when it comes to these protests. One night I couldn't get to Grand Central. I couldn't get home because of these protesters, and it was scary, and I thought, I am not in America anymore. And so I'm asking you, the Public Safety Committee, and you specifically, Chairperson Salam, that we do hold a specific hearing about these protests and about how lives are being endangered, how the Jewish community and other minorities are being endangered, and public safety is not in existence. We are scared to go on the streets because of these protests. And I understand there's been much wrongful convictions made, but we can't go to such an extreme that no convictions are made when there needs to be consequences for lawlessness. And these protests are nothing but 100% lawlessness, and there needs to be consequences. Otherwise, the city is going to completely collapse, and all of its residents are under incredible threat of danger, and yet your role is public safety. So please, please think about the public safety of New Yorkers, and specifically the Jewish community, and please schedule a hearing specifically on this topic of the protests and anti-Semitism. And we'll be here, as we were here today, we'll be here in greater numbers, and we really need this. I am imploring that
Definitely. Thank you for your testimony.
that we have this meeting. There's the need and there's the threat of safety, and your role is to protect us. And I thank you for this time, and I thank you for this meeting.
Thank you for your
Thank you so
testimony.
much. Next, we're going to turn to Amanda Walwin, who's on Zoom. And if there's any individuals I have missed, and I think I have maybe missed some folks in the room, please feel free to come up if I have missed your name so far as well. And I think that's Nadia. If I missed your name, I apologize for that. So you're feel free to come up as well. Okay. And again, if there's anyone whose name wasn't called or would like to come testify, please speak to the Sergeant at Arms. First, we're going to go to Amanda, and then we'll wrap it up with the folks in present as well. So Amanda, just 1 second, and I'll unmute you. You may go ahead. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much, and I will try to keep my remarks brief. My name's Amanda Walwin, and I'm a state policy advocate with the Innocence Project. First, I want to thank the Public Safety Committee, especially Chair Salam and all of the committee staff, for taking on the question of how police investigative procedures can contribute to wrongful convictions in New York City. This truly is an historic moment for the council and the Innocence movement, and at the Innocence Project, we don't take this opportunity lightly. My testimony today will touch on a variety of ways that police investigations can lead to wrongful convictions, and I'll provide concrete solutions that NYPD and the City Council can pursue to reduce wrongful convictions in New York City. Although I will also note that Council's support of the Challenging Wrongful Convictions Act would be enormously helpful in getting this bill done in Albany. My written testimony delves into much more detail about each of these areas, and I'm happy to follow up with more information and model policies for each of these issues as well. According to the National Registry of Exonerations, there have been 40 wrongful convictions in New York City that involved false confessions, including convictions as recent as 2018. NYPD's interrogation techniques, based on what's described in the Patrol Guide and the Detective's Guide, do not meet the standards that would qualify as best practices to avoid wrongful convictions, and in some cases directly contradict those standards. NYPD touted their double-blind photo arrays today, but that's only one factor needed to conduct an eyewitness identification consistent with best practices, which I detailed in my written testimony. Chair Salam very rightly targeted the importance of DNA evidence in revealing wrongful convictions. However, in order to use DNA evidence in an exoneration, that evidence must be preserved and it must be accessible. NYPD must do a better job at evidence preservation. 22 states and the District of Columbia have preservation statutes that meet the Innocence Project's basic requirements, but New York is not one of them. There's no reason, however, that New York City can't take the lead and enact a citywide statute that meets or exceeds these requirements. With or without statutory change, NYPD ought to convene a task force to implement practices and procedures that will preserve and index all of the evidence.
Expired.
I appreciate NYPD's rhetoric on discovery compliance. However, district attorneys across the state, including in New York City, have reported that they have had difficulty meeting their discovery burden because they haven't received evidence from police partners. The path from poor discovery practices to wrongful convictions is a short and obvious one. Discovery compliance is not an option. It's a legal requirement for the district attorneys as well as NYPD. And we hope that the council continues to use its oversight powers to ensure NYPD complies with this law. Thank you again for the opportunity to testify, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you so much, Amanda. We're joined by two folks who are here in person. I apologize if I missed you. We'll go to Nadia and then Shelley Scott, I believe, as well. So you may begin. Thank you.
Thank you so much for letting me speak here. My name is Nadia Guturova. I'm a resident of New York, and I'm Jewish. And as a Jewish, I would like to bring up the issue how unsafe I feel in the city for past 4 months. And I do not feel safe to show up my identity, and I have to hide it. And I do feel a lot of Jew hatred toward me and other people of my community. And as a mother who is raising a 1-year-old boy, I'm very concerned about his future as a Jewish person, and I would like to give him a Jewish education, and I would like to know that my child is safe in the city, so am I, and all my other members of my community. And I believe that you can take appropriate actions to remedy the hateful situation in my city and make everyone feel safe in the city, not only Jewish, but also any other people. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your testimony.
Well, I'm not speaking on wrongful convictions, but since everybody else is talking about their safety, then I'm like, well, let me express mine. I live in Harlem, and since we have this situation going on with a lot of people who are not citizens committing crimes and being let go, I don't know if that's considered a wrongful conviction or not, but I don't feel safe. When I come home at night, I'm guarded. If I see anybody on an e-bike, I'm scared I'm gonna get my purse snatched. And besides that, now they wanna open up a shelter that is right around the corner from my home. So since you are my representative, I just wanted to let you aware that yes, people in Harlem are concerned about their safety as well. And I'm a young woman, I live alone, and it's scary, and I've never felt that way before in my life. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
I'll make an announcement. If there's anyone else present who we did not call, please speak up. And with that, we're going to close up the public testimony section and turn it back to the chair to close the hearing. Thank you.
Well, this has been a wonderful day of testimony. Thank you for your testimony, and that concludes this hearing on wrongful convictions and the NYPD. Thank you.